I don't know what to say. Just words, things, shit occurred.
Yeah, I, that's the thing. And if everything works out the way life should work out, we'll be doing this legitimately in 4 months.
Yeah, but you saw the bad news, didn't you?
Of course, I didn't.
I didn't find out until I actually looked because somebody's already put the Wikipedia page up for next year's ceremony. Best picture is 10 and only 10. It's not between
Why?
6 and 10. It's 10. They're trying to do what they did in
Why?
they're trying to do what they did in '09 when it was 10 locked.
Is this about wanting blockbusters in again,
I
or
think so. Well, we got the audience figures. 14 months ago, 23.8 million. Last night, 9.5. 58% drop.
Gee, I wonder why. Oh, that's right, because there's nothing that was nominated that appealed to the general public except for Chadwick Boseman.
And then the Academy accepts it on his behalf. Oh wait, that's it.
But the cab's running
you?
right now. Jump in real quick.
Well, I can the comparison I was making to someone earlier was, you remember the plane scene in 1917 when
Yes.
you had George Mackay and the other guy, and they were there, and they looked up at the dogfight, and they were like, "Oh, what's going on there?" And it's like, "Oh, it looks like they're going at it," and it's like, who's winning right now? I think we are. So I think this is going to be fine. And then the plane started to go down, and then it came for them until it crashed into a fiery explosion.
I've got that as a
and
GIF, but
and
I've
one
got
was
that as a
fine.
GIF, which I could program into here. But the problem is, it would probably then cause drop frames galore and be even more choppy. But it's sort of that bit where it's like comes down, and the start of the ceremony was at that bit when it starts coming down, and it goes out the view of the hill. And then by the end
Oh,
of the
you mean
ceremony, it's the bit where it comes over the back of the hill and it's smashing into that barn.
the way the way I was thinking it was like, when they're watching and he says, I think we're winning. It was like, Prosecute Roman wins original screenplay, The Father wins adapted. Vinterberg's speech was amazing. And then you had Kaluuya, which is perfectly fine if, you know, we'll get to that. But that's where it was like, yeah, this is going really well. The room looked really cool. Like, I liked the setup. And it's like, holy shit, the Oscars is taking place in a room with windows. That's jarring. And you can tell because Carrie Mulligan was getting blasted in the face by the sun at the start of it, and then by the time her category came around, she was sitting in the fucking dark.
There was that
pretty
bit.
much?
There was that bit. I can't remember which category it was, but it's like they show him, and it's like the guy is like practically not trying to do that because he's literally being blinded by the sun that's shining through the window on him. Like,
There was one that actually had the sun in the background. It looked like it was a laser beam that was coming at her at all times.
But yeah, so it's like, so during that whole thing, like during the whole first portion, it was like, all right, that's good. We're winning. That's great. And I think it was like, when if we're equating it to the plane in 1917 still, when it kind of, we noticed it was shot and it was starting to fall, it was just like, oh, are they just not doing clips at all? Like, are they not showing anything from the movies themselves? Well, that kind of sucks, but there's a nice flow. Let's see what else they do. And then it kind of stayed on that and was fine enough, even though the lack of clips kind of sucked. But it was, I'd say it was around the time Laura Howery came in at the 2 hour and 45 minute mark to say, "Hey, let's play a game."
So basically, what you're saying is we started in Attitude Era Raw, and everything was great. And then midway through the show, someone flipped the button and changed it to Raw Now. And that's the reason why we have what we had for the rest of the show.
Well, yes and no. To be fair, the bit where it's about comes over the brow of the hill and is just about to smash into the barn was probably when an hour in they were just like, "Here's best director."
Yes, what the fuck was that?
They said
I mean, I know it was like it seemed like a precursor to the early picture announcement, which I don't want to get into, but we will.
So,
But
let me tell you something. What happened was, brother, Hogan needed to go home early, so needless to say, they had to do the Intercontinental title as the main event for the main event show.
yes, I believe somebody's comment was it Bong Joon-ho's bedtime or something? Like, did he need to go?
What you don't know is the entire thing he did was a hologram. It was never him. He was asleep way before that happened.
But that's the thing though, is it's like, yeah, that was really jarring. But at the same time, it was like, it really felt like the turning point was the Lil Rel stuff. But the thing about that though is, I know people seem to not take too well to it, but I don't necessarily hate the bit they were doing. It eventually went off the rails, but but it was the timing of it that was really like, I don't like seeing him and Kaluuya like reminisce about Get Out was perfectly fine to me. But it's, and the whole I have a question that I genuinely don't know the answer to, and I really want to know.
All right.
The Glenn Close School Days thing, was that a scripted bit or not? Because it really looked like it was, and then I wasn't sure anymore.
To be honest, it did feel a bit too scripted. How she sort of knew all the details.
Yeah.
I think the thing that wasn't scripted was the bloody lap dance. Or whatever it is that Glenn did.
And that's where the Vince Russo reference comes in. If we're going to keep equating this to a bad edition of a Monday Night Wrestling show, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here. So Brian is saying a lot in chat real quick. We haven't even introduced ourselves. We'll get to that in a minute. What a season. It's been announced last year, and it's more of a diversity factor. Permanent 10 from now on if we're looking at terms of diversity for next season without knowing what independent films are coming out this year.
So if they're talking about diversity, are we blaming it on there not being blockbusters, or are we blaming it on Ma Rainey and One Night in Miami missing? Or both, or neither?
I get this.
I mean, to their credit, Ma Rainey and One Night in Miami both should have been in anyway, regardless of a diversity thing. But
there he goes.
So, what were you about to say?
There he goes. He disappeared. Who was in chat last night says, I honestly really like that Guess the Song bit.
Yeah. It's the main problem was the timing of it was like, this is fun, but it's like, as it was going on, I kept thinking, what time is it right now? And should this not have been like an hour ago or more?
No reason the show should have went over 3 hours. Not even close. Especially with cutting all of the musical performances and putting them on the pre-show.
Yeah,
of which they then showed about 40 seconds of the music anyway.
Yep.
I got to the pre-show late, so I was pretty much just in time to see Fight For You performed.
Same.
And I said before that I do really like that song. That performance reminded me that because I saw Judas and Black Messiah a couple of times, and the second time around, I just kind of watched the credit roll because I was like, this song is kind of fucking awesome. Like, it has that 70s feel to it, and like the flow of the lyrics is so great. And it's like, well, damn, I really hope that wins now. I'd forgotten how great it was. So there was that. But there's something else I was gonna say, but I'm sure it'll come back around.
Brian says it's just Eternals for female directors with Chloe Zhao, West Side Story for its cast, a Journal for Jordan for directing and acting.
Yeah, but
What are we
that's
talking
if,
about?
that's if Eternals is any good.
The wooden ship that is diversity.
We know what Disney's on-off mixed history is with getting big directors to do franchises. Doesn't always go well. Look at Pirates 5.
Yeah.
And have their careers ever come back from that? No.
It's basically last year's Oscars with Arrivo being the only colored acting nominee. These are his words, not mine. And no women directors nominated, specifically Gerwig for Little Women. Yeah, don't remind me of that. She got screwed just like Carrie did last night. We'll get to that. Don't worry. Now, here's the thing. By the way, welcome. My name is. This is the logo of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast out of last night. This is to Nomadland. So basically, that's where we're going to go with this. Last night, Ashley and myself did over 3 hours, and for those of you that joined us, we really appreciate it. We had a great time chatting to you guys and girls in chat, and we look forward to doing it again next year. But now we are at the final point of the road from the Oscars, and that is the recap of everything. Now, generally, we do this after the show, and we don't do it the next day. The reason why, work schedule decided they wanted to throw me a curveball. So needless to say, I am not Jack Parkman, so I didn't knock it out of the park. So needless to say, what ended up happening was I ended up kind of grounding out to barely making the bag at the right time, if you want to use baseball terminology. So basically that means that's why we're doing it tonight instead. So we're going to try our best not to go all night, but we have a lot of stuff we got to do, and it's time to do it. So we're eastbound watching Old Bandit run. Now, here's the thing. We're going to do spirits. We're going to recap the Oscars, and we're going to do our personal top 8s for the year, or a version of one in my case. Incidentally, joining us as always, just like last night, we have Ashley.
Sorry, I'm still recovering.
Yep. Thank you, Jumpin' Jeff Farmer. And
I'm not booked.
AJ.
I mean, the way we've covered the night up to now in this particular video, is there any other appropriate way? We're just going to be all over the place.
It's number one, but it might as well be a middle finger right now. Anyway.
I mean, because like,
hi, Cassie.
Even if we wanted to go in some kind of order, where do you even start? And remember, I've always been somebody that I've always been really forgiving about the broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like the blow out of proportion, like, oh, this was unnecessary, or oh, this was cringy, or whatever. And it's like, it's the fucking show. We get it once a year. Just watch it and like it.
Right.
I was in a bad place at about 20 minutes of the show to go.
I mean, from the start of it, which was basically Soderbergh trying to redo Jackie Brown's opening for one random reason or not, which set us up in a weird place right away, because obviously we're 3 hours behind because it's California. So needless to say, it's bright, sunny daylight. It's 5 o'clock when this is happening. So it feels like I'm watching an old WCW taping in Georgia, basically, when they filmed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's what it felt like. It's very weird. I know that's a weird analogy, but that's where we are right now.
I can't believe I understood that reference.
It's going to be an interesting situation because I have a guest that's going to be joining in a bit, and it's not someone that's going to be doing the show, so they're just going to be sitting here to the side, I guess, for a little bit. So I may have to disappear, but we'll do the best we can. Basically, what we're doing right now is we're going to go through the Spirit Awards, which is hilarious because I watched Ashley literally put the logo of the Spirit Awards as like a disembodied head right next to the Popcast Network logo, and it's very entertaining to watch on my end.
I didn't have time to plan because I just thought I'd do exactly what Soderbergh did and just wing it. So,
Freddy versus Jason style. If you get that reference, you've watched this network a long time, and the fact that we're coming up on our anniversary on May 1st, that's kind of interesting to say that. So it's interesting to say because we're actually at an anniversary for this network on May 1st. So that's when the Popcast Network started. So it makes sense. Right in the last week of this month, we're going to do our Oscar wrap up of all things, which is the biggest thing we have on this channel. That's not Voices of Liberty. Now, here's the thing. We're going to go into the spirits now. I don't know if you guys watch The Spirits. It's not really an easy show for me to watch. You have to have one channel to watch. AJ, I know you got the channel many moons ago. I don't know if you still have it or not, because I know our cable system, the one I used to have, shoot ducks, and we lost like access to like Comedy Central and MTV many years ago. I don't know if that even came back or not. But at any rate, you do have access to the show, so I'm guessing you watch the show by you nodding. So Ashley, did you watch the show?
It's nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible to get a feed. I was just looking at Twitter feeds, like waiting for the results to come through. The only thing I remember.
I'll say one thing.
Only thing I remember is people thought Melissa Villaseñor did a good job at first, and then it got very annoying by the end. Because it seems she was just there to just do impersonations.
Yeah. The thing I was gonna. Yeah, it's kind of all who's God, isn't it? But the thing is even apart from the fact that the impressions got a little played out, the thing that was kind of starting to bother me about that was I've mentioned a few times on this channel that I don't really like it gets brought up sometimes, and I really try not to talk about like the fact that when our views are in the shitter, because the only people that would hear that are the people that are actually watching. So it's like,
right.
So when you watch the Spirit Awards, and almost all of the jokes that aren't impersonations are, "Hey, I'm hosting a show nobody's watching." That joke's gonna be clever once, but when that's like basically the key to your gig, apart from, "Hey, I do random impressions that don't really fit the skits we're doing," like obviously one of Melissa Villaseñor's impressions that's more famous is Owen Wilson.
Yeah, of course.
So she does a whole bit where she's inserted herself into Nomadland. The scene where she's in the store at the beginning and she runs into those people that recognize her.
Right.
And so we hear a voice off screen. It's like, "Hey, Frances McDormand." Jeez. But instead of, just being Melissa Villaseñor running into Frances McDormand, and the joke being that Frances McDormand is playing herself, basically. No, for some reason she's Owen Wilson and she works at the store. And this bit went on and on and on. So that's the kind of show we were dealing with when awards weren't being presented. I will say that Adam Sandler name dropped Lars von Trier, which was really wild. Just as a joke, like he claimed he got beer tips from him or something, and it was kind of like it was the nice randomness, like when Mulaney and Kroll hosted and they did like the random quotes joke that was really funny. That's the closest we got to that. I mean, apart from her doing a Mulaney impression, but where Mulaney is right now, I don't know it's entirely appropriate to be doing Mulaney impressions, but I guess we can all take it. But yeah, so that's what that was. So anything else you would need to know is the results.
Honestly, I think that's all we really need to do, unless there's something that we need to talk about. If you're going to watch the show. So I would say that we're basically talking about the fact that we predicted a lot of the same things, just like we did at the Oscars, and some of us failed and some of us soared. So let's go into that.
Well, the televisions did mix it up a little, because the non-scripted documentary went to Immigration Nation. Unorthodox took both acting performances for the male and female. And then, as if the Independent Spirit Award rules for film don't apply to television, I May Destroy You already got ensemble cast, but then they also gave it new scripted series as well.
So I did get.
Yeah.
Continue.
So then the Cassavetes went to Residue.
Good job, AJ.
That was just a totally random guess, and I'm pretty sure it's what got me the win between the three of us.
Probably.
It definitely.
Yeah. By the looks of it, yeah. It was basically that. Quo Vadis Aida took International. Which, considering it was the only one that was sort of in the Oscar things, I probably should have said it, but, you know, that was too obvious.
Yeah, AJ. That one.
Zhao got Nomadland for editing. Which, of course, meant that Never Really, Sometimes, Always just got Never.
I kind of thought, like, surely they won't give everything to Nomadland. They'll try to spread it around a little bit. And while that is true, I guess not for the tech categories.
Right here.
Yeah, cinematography went to Nomadland as well.
I think the show was picked on purpose.
Crip Camp got documentary.
At least somebody gave it to it instead of the fucking Shape of Water 2. But
Yu Jun Yun got supporting actress. Paul Rassi got supporting actor for Sound of Metal.
Heck yeah.
Kerry Mulligan got Best Actress.
Hey, think about it. In the world where the wrestler beat the Best Picture winner, this award show should be one of my favorites moving forward because it gave my girl a win and it gave my movie a win as well. So I'm happy with that.
So all you're gonna care about, all you're gonna care about next year, then, Owen, is the spirits and the Critics' Choice.
Not the BAFTA.
Before we go on to actors' curveball, there were some nice speech moments from Mulligan and Racy where Mulligan dedicated it to Helen McRory, and Racy did a nice bit where he talked about how he's been like a bit player for 30 years, and finally got this part. He ended it with "Don't quit your day job."
Heck yeah!
So yeah, Riz Ahmed getting Best Actor for Sound of Metal. Somebody recognized it.
I greatly.
That is when you can tell nobody was paying attention. This is when Soderbergh and whoever he was working with should have said, "You know what, guys? That idea we had, maybe we should go back to normal when we do the Oscar format, because I don't know if this Bozeman thing will end up happening or not."
It wasn't. Oh my gosh! If you really think about it, with everything that happened from the tragedy that was the BAFTAs,
puts especially SAG to shame this year.
Very happy with Riz Ahmed winning, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Don't worry. Continue.
Apologies if we just dipped. It just seemed like OBS disconnected for some reason, but stream seems to be running, so we're good. So some stuff might have been lost there, a few seconds, but not a huge amount. So yeah, first screenplay went to Palm Springs. And first feature went to Sound of Metal. I'd say fair for them.
I love Owen's confused look when you said Palm Springs. You predicted it, right?
Yes.
Wait, I just thought it was against. I thought Emerald was against.
No, remember, even though it was her first screenplay, it wasn't put in first screenplay. Just like at the
conversation.
Just like at the DGA, because apparently Emerald Fennell had directed stuff before, even though Darius directed other stuff as well before Sound of Metal. but that was classified as a first directorial. That was classified as a directorial debut, even though it also was for Emerald. So.
So, go ahead, because I have a couple of messages in chat real quick.
Emerald did get screenplay.
Darn right.
And then Zhao got director for Nomadland, and Nomadland got best feature. To the chat.
Brian said I went with Residue because it was the only one that didn't have a wiki page. The only one of the 5 that had an additional. Oscars matched the BAFTAs and all the big 8.
Oh,
yeah,
we'll get to that. We'll get
Brian
to that.
said, I wonder if it was Soderbergh or ABC that demanded Best Actor to be last. I blame Kevin Dunn. That's all I'm gonna say.
I was gonna say I see a lot of blame being thrown at Soderbergh. I don't know exactly what he was in charge of, but he's getting the
I tell you what he
results
was
of
in charge of, and people were complaining about it in the chat. Lorraine.
It's like, do you think?
Lorraine was like, it says how interesting this ceremony is when the people that are watching it are just trying to work out what the ratio is of the shot that's being presented throughout the entire night.
Like, well, he's getting so much of the brunt of what's happened here. It's like, do you think Soderbergh's ever going to be able to look at his own Oscar again?
You know how he always says, "This is my final project. I'm never doing anything else." The Oscars might have killed his career.
He will not come this time around.
Or he said that so many times and had to backpedal so many times, and everybody kind of calls him out for it. What if this was intentional career suicide? It was like a.
I like this plan. I like this plan.
Cassie
it was literally him doing the producers. This is his Springtime for Hitler.
Cassie says, I like the Oscar ceremony. I thought the new place was nice. However, I did not like the Best Picture intended Best Actress and Actor. Yeah, the order was like I said. I brought up the wrestling reference. If you're not a wrestling fan, that kind of goes over your head. But basically, saying that something that should be the final award should be going midway through, right before other categories that don't make as much sense because they want to get it over with. So that's basically, in all essence, what I'm saying when I say that basically it's going, like, they're going to let the secondary championship be the main event because the main event's got to go home, brother. So needless to say, you have to make that work for the analogy. But yeah, it's basically what the circumstance is they wanted to switch up the order. And the way I was looking at it is we're going to have a main event for the end of every hour, leading us to the final award, which the final award would be given Best Picture to the most undeserving Best Picture winner in the history of the world right now. The thing about ratings with this, and obviously it failed miserably.
Mm-hmm.
I know you said right now, but I just have to show you something here. Oh, and you haven't by any chance seen this movie, have you?
No, I have not.
Nomadland is a perfectly fine Best Picture winner. And when you look at the history,
take that out of context, please. ... If you're talking about that movie, but say that it's a perfectly fine movie compared to what else it competed and beat. No, it's not. This shirt means something.
We can also talk about this one if you want to.
Oh.
Hang on, what is it? Which
it
one?
Tells me
Which one was it?
What was that?
Which one was it?
It's Gigi.
Oh.
Gigi.
Sorry, I thought it was Jiggly. I was getting flashbacks.
Good Lord. How can a television show be worth this much embarrassment? I haven't said that in a while, AJ. You got to give that to me.
But yeah, like what she was saying. Was given the circumstances, the show was set up well and was going well. And then Yeah, like you were talking about before, just that plane. Yeah. So
About the time that I lost my perfect score is when this all went downhill.
Pretty much. Not
Brian says, well, I'll be doing my Oscar movie marathon, starting with documentary, international, animated, and then My Octopus Teacher, Tenet, Soul, News of the World, ... We'll continue that in a second. AJ, that's to you because you got to watch everything.
this was a landmark year. I have never done this before. Back in the day, we tried like fuck to do this, and it never worked. There was always a few shorts or a couple of foreign movies or a documentary. I managed to see every single nominee, including all 15 shorts, before the fucking show. And it was kind of last minute too. I finished Better Days like 3 hours before the show.
And now that I have you here, obviously we talked about the other shorts that I got to watch, and granted they don't show the documentary shorts when you watch them in a theater, so I was behind. Even if you do the gimmick that Athena was doing, AJ, where they were actually you were paying to be able to watch them online, documentary short was not in there. So the only way to watch it is to basically track them down. But I want to know what you thought about White Eye.
I was talking about how I had said there was one aspect of it you didn't tell me about, and you said, interestingly enough, it's something you didn't notice. But having watched it, yeah, it's true. The whole thing's in one shot.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And yeah, I like it. I don't know that I like it as much as like Feeling Through.
Thank you. Feeling Through's so good.
But it was probably White Eye would probably be my second favorite, because I was fine with The Letter Room.
Mm-hmm.
There might be 5 minutes in there you can cut out of it, which is so weird to say about a short.
I understand.
Like I said, Two Distant Strangers is good, but we've seen the concept before, and like I said, it's almost aggressively on the nose.
It's very jarring to watch theatrically with other people. I'll tell you that right now. And if anything happens, the theater is really hard to watch when there's people around you. Now, you got a chance to watch it where you're by yourself. I had people around me when I was watching it, and I didn't know what was going to expect, and they didn't either, obviously, when it happened. We'll get to that in a minute.
I had heard about the concept going in, and just the only thing I could think about was there was like a comedy video somebody made a few years ago that's only like 2 minutes long. That's the exact same thing. It's just done like as a dark comedy rather than the extreme drama on here. But and then that leaves The Present.
Yeah.
I thought The Present was fine, but it's like the whole first half isn't really that necessary to get to the payoff. But the payoff is good. The payoff's really good though, so it had that going for it.
Right.
After everything, the cool final scene.
Before we even get to it, can we talk about how stupid the goodie bags are again? So apparently last year there was a cruise to Antarctica, a stay in Italy, and a vacation in Kauai. This year, the 20 acting nominations and the 5 directors in their goodie bags got a 4-night stay in a Golden Door spa, which is apparently the #1 spa in the world, a 3-night stay in a lighthouse on a Swedish island, 10 gym sessions with some personal trainer person that's apparently famous, even though I've never heard of him, a chance to get cosmetic surgery. Yeah, because that's a great thing to endorse to people. Oh, you're not, maybe because you didn't win, maybe you need surgery. Like,
oh, you mean like the Zac Efron picture that Twitter is blowing up about right now?
Yeah.
Well, that's topical.
An investment advice from a major financial bigwig, and the Don't Cook book from Postmates, because it's a cookbook that has no recipes but has QR codes to get the most wanted items from local restaurants. So it's not even a cookbook, is it? It's just like a menu.
It's a Yelp.
And then,
I'd like it to be known.
oh, go ahead.
I'd like it to be known that my feed is not frozen. I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
Oh, and then we get to the pièce de résistance.
Comedy for one is still comedy at this case. AJ, you're truly in Pink Panther mode right now.
Yes.
I know you get that. No one on the network's gonna get that. I've never told this story on this channel before.
I'm sure we did back in the day at some point.
Years in this channel, so I mean, but we're not quite there yet. So maybe we'll have to tell it at some point.
The pièce de résistance, though, the general one apparently that everybody got, included a Chadwick Boseman non-fungible token for a digital representation of Chadwick Boseman that's all going to get sold off with the proceeds going to the colon cancer charity, and the artist that made it taking 50% of the money as well as the other 50% of the proceeds going to charity as well.
So AJ knows this. I've used the word fung so much my entire life. I did not know that igable was a way to say that word as well.
I just call it an NFT because it's like every sort of cryptocurrency. It's like, oh, it doesn't exist.
Well, here's the thing.
Please tell me you're getting versus ideas while you're looking through.
Oh.
You kind of stopped me because I was aware of like the goodie bag concept.
Right.
I was not aware there were like levels of it. Like the above the line people get great shit. Do the other people just get shitty shit? Not that this isn't shit.
I'm just bear with me, guys. I'm trying to change over.
We're all for like 2 seconds there. That was nice.
I had to change over the region because it was like getting choppy because I started the call on here. It was going to. Don't worry, people have just been seeing the lizard. I need to hang on. Let me see if I can get the details. Yeah, so this is from EW. Boseman's been immortalized in a new piece of digital artwork, which will be part of the gift bags nominees will receive on Sunday. So I don't know whether this is the gift bags for everybody, because the article that I got from BBC Newsround, because apparently the kids are interested in these celebrities getting plastic surgery as well.
Mm-hmm.
Each nominee's gift bag will contain a NFT or non-fungible token that authenticates a 3D digital tribute to Boseman created by artist Andre O'Shea. The NFT itself will then be auctioned, with proceeds going to the Colon Cancer Foundation, which fights against the same disease that took Boseman's life last summer at age 43. O'Shea will also be donating 50% of the proceeds to the Colon Cancer Foundation.
I mean, I just thought they were going to get a hot dog handshake and a stay at the Motel 6, but that's beside the point.
Who knows?
Yeah, there was 1 year. There was 1 year where Leonard Maltin. It was the 2008 season, because he revealed this while he was talking to Brolin. Leonard Maltin once gave them all a gift of M&Ms with their faces on them.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, that sounds funny, but the simplicity of it is so endearing by comparison to all of it.
That's a shoot thing you can get. Anybody can get now. We have an M&M store that's down the road from me. You can get anything you want printed on M&Ms if you really wanted to. If I wanted Dan House's face on M&Ms, I could make that happen. I need to make a trip to Disney Springs housing, I guess. So this is how we get off the rails. This is how we go 4 hours. So do we have anything else we need to say about the spirits?
I doubt it.
I wouldn't have said so. Just that AJ won it 13 to 12 to 12.
There we go. All right.
Which basically sort of ruined our chances of beating AJ overall. In theory.
Well, thank you, Residue. I really appreciate. I don't know what the fuck you are, but thank you.
The funny thing, as Ashley and I had this conversation, AJ and we had this conversation on the phone as well after I got out of Mank. A lot of the things that ended up going over that won at the Oscars that I didn't go with, you can vouch for the fact that I would have if we did the video over.
Last time I talked to you, you were wishing you had changed editing.
I wasn't.
Something tells me you're not standing by that now.
No, I'm about Mank for cinematography. That's the main one I'm looking at. Because I did say that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you did say that, yeah.
Editing, I was comfortable with, but then for some reason, other people got me uncomfortable. And then I saw the Spirit Awards. I was like, maybe I'm a little bit more comfortable now.
I was comfortable to the very end. I was looking, I was like, oh, don't worry, I'll catch him at editing. Yep.
So, go with the order of the show, Ashley.
I don't have the order. I'm just looking at. It's good having a look at Twitter about everybody being angry at Anthony Hopkins when he actually did a pretty good job. And now I'm seeing this quote from I'm seeing this quote from an ABC exec saying ending the Oscars with Best Actor was a calculated risk that still paid off because everybody's talking about it. This is why television is a great medium.
Okay, so we just need to say, I need to state the obvious. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here. It's something everybody knows, but somebody just needs to say it out loud for preservation. Not one single one of those goddamn fucking people complaining on Twitter about Anthony Hopkins has seen The Father.
I almost guarantee you're right.
No, that's
not one.
And again,
fucking one.
In the tweet, it's saying people getting mad at Anthony Hopkins for his speech that he did, on Instagram, where he openly said, we lost Chadwick way too soon. And we know that he isn't good at speeches anyway. He's very sort of minimal on that sort of thing. His speech was delivered very well. The issue is ABC's thing. And I'm just looking at Eric Anderson's retweet of the quote from the ABC exec saying, wanting to capitalize on black pain and see a widow cry on live television was a calculated risk that still paid off.
I wasn't aware that ABC is now mining as the WWE, but apparently it is. So
they don't care.
Well,
they don't care. They've got a Best Picture winner for the first time in years.
Get to that, don't worry.
But as we know, the whole drama about, getting the hopes up of the Boseman family and apart from being sad, what must be kind of a humiliating blow too. There was an easy way around this. Do the fucking show like normal.
Yeah.
It would have been, even if it was in the normal order and actor was third to last, if Boseman had won, it would have been just as great of a moment.
Yeah.
That was such an idiotic gamble, especially after Hopkins won fucking BAFTA.
And the best thing is, the British media over here, normally when there's British wins in the big categories, they really care. It really gets to the top of the news. It's barely the and finally this year, which says everything considering Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, quite a lot of attacks.
Okay. Since we're not doing the show quite in order, while we're talking about humiliating the families of the dead,
I mean, you're not wrong.
There's something we haven't mentioned yet in that group of time we've been talking about where the show started to go downhill. So obviously there's a lot of complaints, a lot of years about the memoriam and who's missing, stuff like that. Like Jessica Walters wasn't there, and a lot of people were really upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
But what was her name? Diana
Rigg, who did make it on the Academy, but the British Academy was like,
the one who was the actress that like drowned trying to save her kid? I can't remember her name now. Damn it. But yeah, people are upset that a few things are missing. But even on top of that, what was up with fast forwarding the memoriam? Like, who's call? Like, of all the shit calls, and a lot of shit calls were made in the last half hour of this show. But I mean, if you want to put one particularly blatant shit call at the top of that list, who is fast forwarding the memoriam?
Yeah, Brian said the exact same thing. Said it was way too fast. Understatement.
And it's like imagine, especially people like Olivia de Havilland, like who have like over 100 years.
oh look, it's Olivia. Oh wait, somebody else. Who is that? I missed that. Hang on, no. Why does it keep going with the beat of Stevie Wonder? Even Stevie Wonder is phoning up ABC going, what are you doing to my fucking song?
In essence, it was basically like, we need to get this finished at this point. And if they wanted to do that, they should have ran it properly earlier on in the show.
Were you guys, not to be insensitive, but were you guys also playing the who in relation to Chadwick Boseman is introducing the memoriam? Because it was Viola Davis was announced, and it was like, oh, it's gonna be Viola Davis because of Ma Rainey. And then she did the Tyler Perry Award. And it's like, coming up next, Angela Bassett, his Black Panther mom. She's doing it.
That never came to my mind. I just thought, I was looking at the list, and it's like Rita Moreno is probably doing Best Picture. The only person left is Bassett. It probably is her.
Naya Rivera, AJ.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you, Lorraine.
But yeah, it was just... And the other thing that seemed to crop up, that like, most of the time, they didn't want to show film clips. At all.
This, I don't like this direction. Because last year we did the montage bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Why are we, and maybe I'm traditional to a fault sometimes, but it's the Oscars. We need the goddamn clips.
I was so yearning.
I
was so yearning for the montages that Rolex ad I thought was like a way of them introducing cinematography.
That was something involving the show. And he's like, is that a Rolex ad? I was like, yeah, it kind of is.
Because you know what else was great?
The American Idol Disney.
Yeah.
Week.
Because here's the whole thing. This is what... The whole point of the show is to showcase what these people do. So we used to have stuff like when it's like, hey, this is what the costume designer does. See these sketches they do of the costumes and shit?
Very nice.
See all the work that goes into it. See all the stuff that's like discarded. That's really great stuff that just doesn't make it. And then there's like, oh, you're confused about sound? Well, this is how sound works.
I know you weren't a fan of the way it was done, given that it was a separate hour-long program, Owen. But do you see how what the BAFTAs did was so much better?
They made it work in a different way.
Yeah.
You know what else I never get tired of is when they do the screenplay nominees and you see the script next to the clip.
Yeah, you see the actual words and you see exactly what the actors are saying.
Which they did at the BAFTAs.
Yeah.
But it's like to choose to just not do anything. Like, did we not get The clips we did get were so random. We got them for what, animated, and like one other thing.
Well, another thing too is the thing Ashley brought up as well is when you didn't have the clips, you basically had the so-called host talking down to them like they're children, like this is what you did.
The
You
only
understand?
example of that is our Lord and Savior, Director Bong, who literally said to all 5 nominees, in 20 seconds, tell me what directing is for you. And it was personal as hell, and it was awesome.
And by the way, how fucking amazing was Emerald Fennell's answer?
Yeah.
And she made it come true. But I don't know how many people have seen that, so that's where I'm gonna stop that.
Yeah. Just
Like I said, the rip-off Jackie Brown opening, leading to the way too bright venue, which looked really cool though. Honestly, it kind of looked like a Vegas showroom, but during the day with windows. It was laid out old-timey Copacabana.
Is it just me? Those booths looked really fucking comfortable.
With director, it was just image, says Brian.
What was that?
Brian says with director, it was just images.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was still Bong actually getting them to sort of say something themselves rather than Bong saying, "Oh, how great you are." He let them basically write their acceptance stuff.
It was like I was reading chat as we were live last night, and it was like, I don't remember who said it. I think it might have been Top Hat that said it. It's like, oh, by the way, I thought they were just talking. We're doing an award already?
Oh, yeah, because Regina King made sort of an interesting speech saying, you know, if things hadn't gone the right way in Minnesota, I wouldn't have my heels on. I'd have my Doc Martin style boots, you know, marching sort of thing. And now the screenplay is like, okay, like,
yeah. And then she did the 2004 bullshit when she was in the fucking crowd presenting. And I mean, at least they didn't do the thing they did where it's like, here's the thing, just sit back down. But it's remember how much backlash there was when they did that, when Jeremy Irons presented like Passion of the Christ with something in the goddamn crowd. Yeah. That was a weird movie. That was a weird movie to pair with the word choice. But
So, best original screenplay went first. I have the order, Ashley. Actually. Okay. I'm gonna try at least because I know the order
I remember that because that's where you were you were happy because PYW won something.
Exactly. Should have been way more than just one thing. So yeah, Emerald Fennell won for Promising Young Woman, and then we rolled right into what everybody, except for ones that were paying attention, thought was going to be an upset win for Nomadland, and not an upset win, but a win for Nomadland because of course it was going to win adapted screenplay. But for those of us that had picked Zeller's long day to pick Zeller's screenplay for The Father, we knew what was going to happen, and we were proven correct when The Father took home adapted screenplay.
And BAFTA really helped. I mean, I was gonna kind of go that thinking it was gonna be some Hail Mary shot, but then when BAFTA went with it, it's like, okay, maybe this isn't as out of the realm.
The problem is, you know what BAFTA was this year? BAFTA was the voting form for all those members of the Academy because they hadn't done their vote because it literally had to be in the very next week, and they just went, well, I'll just say what BAFTA said. They seem to know their stuff.
Well, I mean, for quite a few of those, good. If that's what happened, then whatever had to make that happen.
I'm okay with that.
I think we ran through it. You know, we won't go through the winners exactly, but animated match, foreign match, documentary match, score matched, sound match, production design matched. Did cinematography match? Oh no, I think that's the only one that didn't match. But makeup and hair and costume matched, editing matched, visual effects matched. Practically everything was the same as BAFTA.
Yeah, I think BAFTA went nominated for cinematography because I remember it was a surprise when Mank won the Guild.
Mm-hmm.
So.
When you told me that, it kind of shocked me too. But after just getting out of it and it being so fresh in my mind, I'm like, yeah, of course, that makes sense now. I think about it. Roll right into number 3 category, which was Another Round, winning for Best International Feature Film.
As we stated before, amazing speech.
Part of me felt it did go a little too long, but that's the advantage of going as early as you do. In
right.
that you don't sort of have as much as a sort of... Then again, I don't think there was any music playing in the background for anybody, because there was no orchestra, because they were in a station.
It was basically up to Questlove to decide if you were done. Has anybody heard the news about DiCaprio yet?
No. I haven't, at least.
Google Leonardo DiCaprio Another Round.
Uh-oh.
Yep. It's exactly what you think it is.
Oh, no.
Are we... Oh... You do foreign films just to get remade by Americans. Bloody shit and everything for the Americans.
Okay, but to be fair...
Yes, it's
to be fair... What was that?
It's the Untouchables.
It's that, or remember, they were supposed to do that whole thing with Parasite. I don't know if they ever did. And they were supposed to do the Tony Airman thing that they never did. So maybe this is just one of those that's just all talk. But yeah, but then yeah, like you said, we do have
it's the European Super League. The rumors come about, or they put like an announcement out, and everyone goes no, and then it's like, oh no, it was just a concept. It wasn't actually happening, except, admittedly, with the Super League, some of the clubs are now some of the clubs that are sticking in it because basically they need it, otherwise their clubs will die, are going, oh no, they committed, they can't get out of it, and it's like, jog on.
Not to mention, DiCaprio just did the Adam McKay thing. They finally started filming Scorsese's movie, but Killers of the Flower Moon. The title escaped me for a second. It takes DiCaprio forever to commit to something, and he almost always ends up dropping out. So if I had to guess, I would say they're going to lose him, and then this just won't happen.
But at the same time, he committed to Robin Hood. Never forget.
Let's shrink this down to on camera.
Anyway,
because he's got some weird fucking producer credits.
Brian says, if the father in Nomadland showed up at WGA, it could have been different.
I'm a little curious what would have happened, but I would like to think that the father's just so undeniable, especially here. I would like to think it wouldn't have been a race, but we got the result that it should have been, so we're good.
We go to Best Supporting Actor for Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to help me on this or not, but while I was watching it, with all the stuff going on, the very first thing I thought of was, I can't wait to see Ashley reenact Kaluuya's speech.
You're on the spot, good sir.
Because we have the thing of Mads Mikkelsen from the side. Now we've got whatever the fuck Kaluuya was doing when he was looking down and mumbling to himself.
Part of the time he was just looking at the camera as well. He wasn't addressing the audience. He was so used to doing all these Zoom calls. It's like, I've got to talk to the camera.
Yeah, because I was like, is he talking to Stanfield? Like, who's being addressed here?
I think you'll have to after last night's attire choice. Can we refer to Lakeith Stanfield as Superfly? Thank you.
No. I'll make this here because I didn't say it last night. He's Leonard Washington. He's Dave Chappelle. That's exactly what he looked like. Was his Leonard Washington character.
I love that attire. Um,
Cool for
yeah,
school,
the reason why I can't copy it directly is because I was trying to get my feed working at that point.
No, Ashwood's correction was not being able to hear anything last night. He had to listen to everything with no sound whatsoever.
Until I actually got it going on my tablet, because I realised trying to get it on the computer would just play heck with the feed. Plus, I wanted to be able to actually watch and listen to the trailers, because I was intrigued what would be happening with these trailers. And then it's like, it was great, because we might as well do it here, because I'm pretty sure it was after this that they cut to the actress from West Side Story to introduce it. The most worrying thing was that first shot of a trailer. I was like, has he literally just taken the original thing and just, because the way he's got it with the film grain or whatever, it just looked like the original film, even though it wasn't.
I do like the fact that it gave me like serious Moulin Rouge vibes, and how big I am for Moulin Rouge. I'm very happy to see what this is going to turn into. I like West Side Story anyway. So
My only fear is, considering the allegations that have so far been made against, Ansel, whether West Side Story gets a disaster artist deal.
don't remind me. I'm still angry about Franco getting screwed with that.
And all Spielberg's momentum, and Rita Moreno's actually exec producing the thing. I love that. That was
she in it?
Yes, but I was just surprised that she was exec producing as well. That was the best thing. It wasn't like the trailer. It was the poster they put up 12 hours before saying, "Please watch the trailer tonight." It's just like, wait, Rita's actually producing this? Full credit to Spielberg for getting her in on the job, sort of thing.
That's interesting. It's interesting she's the only one that's in it when everybody in the main cast except for Natalie Wood is still alive. Like we still got Richard Beymer, we still got Tamblyn, we still got George Chakiris. It's where are they?
Anyone's guess. Makeup and hair went next.
Yeah, to good old the crew from Ma Rainey.
Oh, we haven't done a video since I saw Pinocchio, have we?
Yes.
No.
As I said last night, that kid sat in that chair for nothing now.
That movie, it was interesting to see. This was one case where I was okay with seeing just the nominees in person while the nominees were being read out, because I wanted to see the architects of my nightmares for the next year and a half or so. That movie is fucking terrifying, and I don't know if that's what they were going for.
Yes, probably not.
I didn't realize how much makeup is in it. Like, Pinocchio himself is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. Like, there's a shitload of all different kinds of... There's a monkey judge. There's a giant snail woman. There's...
What are you talking about?
There's a fish that looks like Noel Fielding. There's... and it's all... It's a scary ass movie, and I don't know how much they intended that, but I don't even think I was a fan. It was that weird.
It's European.
I mean, it's an impressive production, like as a whole. Like, it has an epic.
You
feel.
saw Pan's Labyrinth. You saw The Orphanage. You know how crazy. I mean, let's be honest. Hans Christian Andersen's stories originally were crazy as shit. So what did you expect?
Well, it is really weird that it's so makeup heavy, but when they got to the donkey scene, it's like really shoddy CGI. Which, I don't know. But yeah, that's gonna haunt my dreams for a while now. So I think I'll just leave that at that.
All right, so move on to our sixth category, which is actually best costume design, which AJ has been trying to will Emma to win something for a while now, and it didn't work for him again this time, with Ma Rainey getting what referred to as the double.
89-year-old Anroth gets a second win at last.
That was my first hit of the night, and like the show itself, once I took one hit, I went way the fuck down really fast.
And then, for what I still don't understand the placement, Best Director went next. Probably just to get it out of the way because we all knew what was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, there's not even a comment to make, is there?
Not one bit.
Chow Wan did an okay speech. That's really it. Nothing else substantial to come from it, really.
And of course, we all predicted just like we did. So.
Yeah. We'll mention when we'll mention when we say something that isn't the usual.
Sound of Metal then took Best Sound.
Presented by Riz Ahmed. So it's like conflict of interest. Yep. What?
Ashley was like, "It's not gonna win." I was like, "Yeah, it is. It's fine."
Yeah, that was the one instance where they're like, we can take a gamble on how we present this, right? Like, even if it's not Riz Ahmed, whatever. It's like when was it costumes that Michael B. Jordan was presenting when Black Panther won?
I think so.
It's like in the tech categories, you can take gambles like that because if they don't win, whatever. It's not like they're, the end of the show or something.
I may need some help on some of these when we get further down. Live action short was up next with Two Distant Strangers winning.
I don't know why I went against it. No idea, but something about fatigue of topical stuff or some bullshit that I screwed myself with.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I mean, still, it didn't help the prediction game. I think that, so after that, but I'm trying to keep track of everything here, we had Best Animated Short, which went to, if anything,
documentary short, because they did the animateds together.
Oh, that would be the reason why. Okay, fine.
Yeah, because now we need to get to my foot in mouth moment.
Hold on, give me a second. I have to put it in order then.
So, documentary short. And I should have seen it coming. But I just had that much confidence that having Josef Fares at the Game Awards, God knows how many years ago, saying "fuck the Oscars," would have people in the movie industry have contempt for anything gaming related. That being said, somebody did make a point that the Game Awards show that Jeff Keighley does got nearly 10 times as many viewers as the Oscars did. Not knowing what global viewership is, admittedly, for the 9.5, that was just what was watching domestically on ABC, compared to the 83 million that watched on YouTube or Twitter or Twitch or Facebook. Colette was actually made by Oculus and Respawn Entertainment as a sort of documentary within their Medal of Honor VR game. And I should have seen, given my gaming background, I should have gone with it. I didn't, therefore I came last rather than joint second.
I think the order messed up then, because if you were following along last night, you noticed that I was doing real well when it came to predictions. And I got 10 in a row, and I was like, this would be great. This would be the best I've ever done. And then we got to documentary short and done the party right then and there.
now I'm trying to remember what happened. Hang on, I should go to the Wikipedia because it'll actually give me the list, won't it? Because it actually lists the presenters.
So
order.
what had happened was it went to If Anything Happens, I Love You, and then after that, it went to animated, went to Soul.
Yeah, you're right. Riz Ahmed did sound and live action short because they relate. Then it was Reese Witherspoon, so I take it back. We'll get to Colette again in a minute.
I know that because I'm looking at the order of everything and watching my happened after that. Yeah, Soulwood's animated feature, not surprising there. Documentary feature went to My Octopus Teacher, which both of you have reasons to talk about. Ashley sent me a YouTube video, and AJ told me about the fact it's basically The Shape of Water as a documentary.
With the genders reversed.
Yes.
Just the documentary, the video that I saw, basically going, so this is a guy that didn't really want to be a dad anymore, so he went off on his own, diving in the thing, got some affection for an octopus so much that he was basically stalking it, and then purposefully or inadvertently luring sharks to said octopus, which then allows the octopus to lose one of its tentacles. And then they make a whole thing of, oh, I'm feeding it, I'm going to make it better, despite its scientific common fact that octopus's tentacles grow back. Also, octopuses only live for a year, so of course it was going to die. So was it just him basically showing himself up? Did we all get conned by the biggest mockumentary that's hit the Oscars since not Spinal Tap?
It felt like parody.
Yeah. That's...
There was... Somebody I know made a great comment. They said that the focus of the documentary was on the wrong person. It needed to be... The focus needed to be on the guy's kid at the end who started going out on the things with him, and it's like him taking him into the ocean and saying, "Come on, son, you're going to meet your new stepmom."
Yeah, I finally have the order now. Good, let's get through this. So we've got best.
By the way, having seen all 5, Crib Camp was fucking robbed. And I'll leave that at that.
Let's see. Wait. Well, you'll have to see what Disney does with their remake and Guillermo del Toro's stop-motion animated film in terms of Pinocchio. We're talking about Nightmare Alley, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Lorraine's like, I just Googled Pinocchio 2021 and I regret it. Ryan said, great to see Sharon Choi, but I know which translator Owen gets to talk about. Darn right. We'll get to that later. Don't worry. Brian says, now they did present the animated ones and they did documentary, so there you go. Somebody said, My Octopus is a Mr. Rogers episode. Most terrifying Mr. Rogers. just according to what I've been told here.
It's the octopus saying, "No, I don't want you to be your neighbor. Fuck off." I'm spraying ink at you. You know what that means? Piss off.
Speaking of that was to me directly because I missed another one on Best Visual Effects, and you guys picked Tenet, and I went with The Midnight Sky.
Well, it had to get something, and it wasn't getting sound. So
did Evan Ashley, but that didn't happen either. Yoon Yoo-jung won for Minari, so no surprise there. Once the award show started getting underway, the actual televised ones, I realized I'm going for Bacala every time, and then I realized at the very end, it was like, yep, we got to win for Minari here.
But then we have to love the fact that even though she's 72 or 73, I think, she's still fangirled over Brad Pitt. It's like... And again, her speech was just like brilliant. Just felt good. And like, For all you people that
Yeah.
cannot say my name right, for once tonight, I forgive you. It's like.
I was gonna say, it was like her speech was basically Olivia Colman levels of real.
Yeah.
But not Jodie Foster levels of real, so that's good. That starts too much heat. Speaking of heat, more the double, as Ashley would call it, production design
The Halle Berry Mank-loving.
went to Mank. Nomadland lost cinematography.
So, well, I guess we're not quite there yet, but since we're on it, I'll just use this as a segue. Usually there's that moment every ceremony where it's like something happens and you start to wonder if something crazy is going to happen in picture. More often than not, something crazy doesn't happen in picture.
Right.
Not every year is going to be a Moonlight year or something, or even, like I said, there's been cases where we've had, races, but when it got to the point to where it was, if anything's going to beat Nomadland, it would be Chicago 7, pretty much just based on the SAG win.
Of course.
Because when in doubt, if it looks sketchy, go for the SAG win.
Yeah.
Usually. We may be straying further from that for now, but yeah, the thing about it is Nomadland loses cinematography.
Yep.
It's like, all right, just, picture and director, I guess, because, there was something that was on the radar, but nobody was really going towards. So it was like, all right, so just picture and director. That's a little strange. And then the fact that we learn a category or two later that Chicago 7 is going to go home empty-handed.
Yep.
So with Nomadland losing cinematography, Chicago 7 blanking completely, was there a point in time, and I think this is what pissed me off so much about the placement of picture, was they weren't giving us time to anticipate, because it was like, we were at a place where it was like, Nomadland's looking like it's in a really awkward position if it's going to win picture, because it's losing left and right. It lost adapted screenplay, now it's lost cinematography. But
I was so hopeful.
The only other choice, just having lost editing, is going to go home empty-handed. Was there a time in that brief period we had before they just threw picture at us ahead of time where you were thinking, I'm sure it's still Nomadland, but not completely. I don't know what the fuck was going to happen.
See, funny, because the conversation we had when I was walking back from the theater the other day after Mank is the fact, and I want to bring this up on camera. The thing is, you tried to sell me on the idea that if Trial was going to win picture, it's got to win something. And the one thing you were pushing me towards was Sorkin was going to take Emerald's Oscar. And I was trying to sell you on the fact that I didn't believe that was going to happen. And if Trial was going to win, I had it winning literally just picture and picture only. And that, like you said before, hasn't happened since what? You said the 30s?
1932, Grand Hotel.
Right.
But the thing about that was, now that we can rewind, am I still telling the truth that if Chicago 7 would have won picture, it would have won screenplay? We'll never know, but...
And I'll bring back the same conversation from before. If Carrie ran at BAFTA, would she have won the BAFTA? We'll never know.
So that's a tough call now.
It just, we don't.
Yeah, and obviously, this goes without saying, but like I said, I'll just kind of finish the thought process.
Right.
The whole idea of having no idea what was going to win picture, if the show had been in fucking order, actress clearly would have called it and brought us back to what we already knew was going to happen.
But yeah, absolutely. But I will say, and I was very happy with thinking this, as we get into editing next, at the end of the day, when I was calling the Whiplash comparisons with Sound of Metal, and it looked even more likely after I heard about the Spirit Awards wins, I'll say right now that but it's flipped, because Riz Ahmed would be Miles Teller in this circumstance. So yeah. But the thing about it is, but Miles Teller would have won in that circumstance, and that obviously didn't happen. The thing is, Sound of Metal was in a great place this weekend, to say the least. It was doing real well for itself. Taking editing was a big deal. And the fact that it beat all of the other picture nominees, that was a huge deal. And if it could have rolled into Rassi winning, and Ahmed was the one that won instead of the split, and there would have been a split with Bozeman and Hopkins, because that's the only way that would have happened. Ahmed would have took that spot. People would be saying right now, how did Sound of Metal not win Best Picture? And it's weird to think about that, because honestly, that's backed up with facts, strangely enough. And that's not just me like throwing out a random thing. These are facts that easily could have swayed one way or another. That's how the award rolls.
Yeah, because
Go ahead.
Because the Spirit Awards have no push.
Nope, not one bit. Just visibility. That's it.
But after Ahmed won, and then we got to the big show, it was kind of like, is he out of this though?
Exactly. But yeah, editing, of course, went, and AJ, you went with Trial, which would have been your chance for Trial to win picture if it went editing and picture. And that would have been the only thing you'd done, because Cohen wasn't winning. And even though you thought Sorkin would win, which could have been a possibility, but I was trying to block that out of existence.
I predicted Fennell. I humored the idea of Sorkin winning.
I'll vouch for that on the video too. Best original score went to Soul. No surprise there.
Yeah, let's talk about score for a second.
Okay.
Just real quick. First off, I wanted to see John Batiste win. Yes. I got exactly that. I do want to clear something up though. I guess some people were kind of writing their own narratives during John Batiste's speech.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, like, why is only John Batiste talking? Because Reznor and Ross look a little pissed about it. Like, he's taking up the whole microphone. But way early in the night, I can't remember which category it was now, but that one woman gave her speech, but then said, but I'm not supposed to be talking. Was there a rule that only one person was to give the speech if multiple people won?
I think that makes sense. That'd be an unwritten rule, that something that only people that were winning would actually know.
Yeah, because I think it was when Sound of Metal won, and you had 4 people on the stage and the one guy on the monitor, and the one guy on the monitor is the one that gave the speech. It seemed.
No, we just had to pick your representative. Just like Trial Chicago 7, of course, you had to pick Abby as the person that was going to talk for everybody. And that's exactly what happened. When you won, you talk for everybody.
And then when we got for Best Picture, Chloe was just like, "No, I'm gonna make Francis talk."
Live won't lie.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a minute. Don't worry.
But yeah, I saw people trying to say that John Batiste was basically talking like almost forced himself into talking over Reznor and Ross, but I really don't think that's what was going on at all. I don't know where that's coming from.
Very complacent and happy to win. So, I mean, that's how it should be.
Also, if you look at all the other award ceremonies, I don't think Batiste did anything.
I don't believe he did,
I think Reznor did the Globes.
Yep.
Ross, I think, did BAFTA.
That sounds right.
And, yeah, because Critics' Choice was just announced, so it couldn't be that. So yeah, they basically split it up between them. Reznor did Globe, Ross did BAFTA, Batiste did Oscar.
Makes sense.
How can you complain? They both had their chance to do their thanks for something that seemed inevitable and did to win throughout the entire season.
And I'll say it one more time this season. When you look at the placement of the music in the movie, if one of them was going to give the Oscar speech, it was fucking John Batiste.
Let's go through chat real quick. Brian says, Mank winning cinematography reminds me of Hugo beating the Tree of Life.
That's still pretty wild to look back on, yeah.
But I know a lot more people were not as upset with Hugo winning as a lot of people are upset about Mank winning.
well, if you remember, like we mentioned this recently. Until Nomadland tried to like steamroll the whole competition, Mank was kind of considered the front runner in cinematography for a long time.
And then it got forgotten long enough for most people to stop betting on it, and then it was a shock when it actually did win.
It had like a
That's
full arc.
of course. So, does this mean the Academy is tired of the one-take movie for cinematography? Things are changing. Precedents are.
What is the one take movie here?
That's the problem.
There isn't.
Most of the cinematography thing is basically them looking for the most beautiful shots. It's just, when it's Roger Deakins, he does like the really long shots. Me and AJ have already expressed our love, especially because of Skyfall being on with the BAFTAs, of the introduction scene of Silver, where he's just this tiny sort of ant, and then all of a sudden he's taking up the entire screen. And then the whole concept of sort of 1917 being presented as if it's one shot, but getting the sort of that shot of going through the ruins of a town with all the sort of fire, sort of like, so it looks like Seth Rollins' entrance at WrestleMania, except the 1917 one.
It also looked very. The town burning in 1970 also looks eerily similar to Skyfall burning at the end of Skyfall.
Yeah. To some extent as well, yeah.
So speaking of awards that will probably never happen in our lifetime at this rate, sad but true, Diane Warren loses again.
I mean, it sucks for my predictions, but I was really happy to see that happen. Fight for You is a really fucking good song.
Performance too during the pre-show.
Plus, of course, and I still haven't been able to check this, Herb won a Grammy and an Oscar in the same year.
Yep. So,
which I don't think many people can claim.
Lorraine says, kind of off topic, but who, if anyone, knows the winners before the show? My friend is trying to say ABC could have coordinated with the Academy to find out if Bozeman was going to win, but I don't know. Price Waterhouse are the one.
Only the accountants at Price Waterhouse Cooper that do the numbers and everything will be the ones that would know. Also, interestingly, in previous years they always showed them. They didn't this year.
Yeah.
Oh, they beaten in a public square for what happened a couple years ago. So.
No, but even last year they showed them.
Yeah, well, they probably weren't there. They showed up in an armored vehicle that was covered in plexiglass, and then they delivered their briefcase and they dipped out.
Yeah, because it's like if there was any proof whatsoever that nobody but them knows the winners, this bullshit ending of a show would not have happened.
Is that why the only time we saw the envelope was when Riz Ahmed said Sound of Metal, so he wasn't bullshitting? Because that's the only bit where he was like holding up the envelope and it said Sound of Metal in it. Nobody else did.
I think Bong showed his too.
He did.
Did he?
Brian says, I remember back when Owen mentioned how Whiplash did so well before adapted screenplay that won 3 awards before the category and could have gotten 5 for 5. Yeah, it could have. It almost happened, too. Whiplash literally could have just swiped picture out of nowhere, too. It was very possible at one point. Didn't happen, obviously, but it was definitely leading that direction. Like, can it actually win? It's possible. But
I mean, but then again, you had the three nights at the gate that were Birdman, Boyhood, Grand Budapest Hotel. It had to get by.
Yeah, I hated having to go against Budapest because obviously Whiplash was my baby that year when it came to the award shows. But I had to fight between Budapest and Whiplash. Just like it's why I'm glad that French Dispatch is coming out next year, so I can root for it instead of just having to root for like Sound of Metal and Promising Young Woman like I did this year. But we'll see what happens. Brian says it was sole producer Dana Murray who said she wasn't supposed to. Speaking of things that were supposed to happen but did anyway, Best Picture went to Nomadland. less said about that, the better.
I know I shouldn't make too big of a deal out of it, but I honestly almost felt like turning the TV off because I was like, you just don't do this. You just don't do. You don't do. Okay, first off,
I got. I'm getting closer. So
you gotta. Thing is I was so thrilled. I think I mentioned this in a video. I was so fucking thrilled that the acting winners from last year were coming back because it's like, yeah, the more tradition, the better, as far as like the Oscars go, as far as like the presentation of it.
Yes.
So it's like, great, we're gonna have Joaquin Phoenix, we're gonna have Renee Zellweger, great. So Renee Zellweger is going to do actor, great. Phoenix is gonna do actress, great. And then we're gonna end on picture, and we're all gonna go home, and the night will be fucking normal.
And then the
But
banner,
no.
and then the banner came up. Now Rita Moreno. It's like,
So you're saying as long as a DC villain gave it to a Marvel babyface, the night would have been complete.
Well, not exactly. Because for some reason, Zellweger's doing actress and Phoenix is doing actor. What the fuck was that? Yeah. So like I said, I think that's just the very traditional person in me when it comes to this kind of thing. But that was driving me up the goddamn wall. I could not contain myself watching picture being given out before the two acting categories.
keep in
It was just
mind,
so unnatural.
the last time that this happened, quote unquote, was 71. No, well, 72. When they announced French Connection as being Best Picture, and then they gave the honorary Oscar to Chaplin. Irony of ironies, of course, then winning 12 months later for Best Score for Limelight, which actually came out 20 years before, but because it never got released in LA, it only became eligible in 1972. Yes.
A lot of people thought that was going to happen to that Orson Welles movie a couple of years ago.
Here's the weird thing. I know that I didn't fall asleep during this show. You guys and girls out there that watch the show can do this. I was up and actually awake during the entire thing. That being said, I thought for a split second when I saw Best Picture, did someone not edit this properly and we missed the acting categories? Or did I fall asleep and miss the acting categories?
I kept waiting.
Woke me up.
Remember when like old man Matt Damon came out when La La Land was announced, and he was like, "No, I was waiting for that guy to come out."
You got the wrong envelope. We're doing the wrong category. Rita, come back.
Oh no, the monitors have it wrong too. We're in the wrong category. And then it was like it was intentionally fucking with us. Because then after the whole picture thing, Renee Zellweger comes out, and you're like, all right, we're back to normal. Let's do actor. And it's like, nope, it's the race everybody's waiting for. You don't get any more time to think about it. No more time to anticipate. We're doing actress right the fuck now.
I thought actress was going to be the main after this happened because this is the race that everybody's been waiting for. Who cares about the actor race? Because it's a big deal to the GP, obviously. But the fact we had an idea it was going to happen, especially after what happened with BAFTA and then the Spirit Awards, that we knew that there was kind of a little bit of trouble in paradise. But the actor category, everyone didn't know what was going to happen.
But at the same time, it was like, hold on. They wanted to try and make a big thing about diversity. So far, we've had 2 non-white winners. Is this angling towards, Viola or Andra winning, and then Chadwick winning for actor, and then it's like the history of all 4 acting winners being not white, and then they give it to 2 old white people.
You can say it, so I didn't have to. Brian says French Dispatch is scheduled for Cannes right now. Yeah, I know. He said, I went on the Kirby train. She went home empty-handed this season. Cassie wasn't a fan of that either. I was ready for a picture to be at the end of the night like it always has. thought the same thing too. AJ, do you agree that we may have like just missed something when picture came out? It's like, did we miss the actor and actress somehow? Is it gonna
like, was it a health problem? Like, did I black out? Like, what?
Does that mean that Hawkins is going to show up next year to present Best Actress, like with Paul Newman when he didn't show up in 1986 when he won and then showed in 1987?
Did Questlove neutralize us with the trailer for Summer of Soul? Because I'm pretty sure that was on, and then it was. Oh no, because it was in the. Was it no? Because that was before the In Memoriam bit, right? I think.
I lost track of everything. I was trying to keep track of everything. Don't forget, my stream kept dying every 5 minutes, and needless to say, it was very difficult.
Yeah, because Questlove's thing for Summer of Soul was after the whole, Andra Day swearing, and then Glenn Close decided to join her, and then did the booty thing.
Yeah, I saw none of this because obviously my stream was trying. Of course, I got to the semi-main of the Oscars, which you guys can talk about because this is my response to that. So, stage manager is old Matt Damon, if you're wondering. Thank you, Brian.
Forever.
Yeah, that was something I was kind of like. I kind of almost thought we were going in that direction because it seemed so random. But it was like when Glenn Close was like, "Yes, this is from Spike Lee's movie School Days," and it's like. There would have been so many amazing Glenn Close points if she had gone on. Oh, and speaking of Spike Lee, let's talk about the fact that The Five Bloods is here in one category and how much bullshit that is.
So, on to the main, and now the acting categories after Best Picture because reasons, as Ashley would say. Best Actress. This is the closest you're ever going to get me to me dropping an F-bomb on a Popcast and happen on this. I literally get up on the camera as much as I could. Ashley remembers this Thursday, and anyone watching in the chat last night knows I literally looked up and says, I effing hate Nomadland. And that's exactly what I said.
It was good. First off, it seems symbolic that Mulligan was sitting in the fucking dark when they got to her.
Accurate.
But also, it was like the whole thing about how Nomadland losing adapted screenplay and cinematography. Like we talk about how it's like, how it's a lot of bullshit conspiracies about the Academy will want to do this specific thing, so this is how they'll vote. But it's like that's like 7,000 people, and it's like they're not one cerebral force.
No, not at all.
But at the same time, it was like by the time we got to actress, it was like the night was saying. Oh, wait, I forgot we're doing the whole Nomadland thing. It needs one more. Here you go. And I know we really, really wanted Mulligan.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like when you look back at it, though, I mean, yeah, it might have been a much longer shot than we thought, but it was the whole idea of how much momentum Promising Young Woman was getting.
Right, exactly.
To be fair, I thought it was between Mulligan and Davis. If you're looking at roles that are sort of like ones that you'd want to put in the the show reel, if you would, I don't think Frances McDormand just doing nothing would be something that you'd want to put in a show reel. That's next year when she does Lady Macbeth.
Which she's going to fucking crush, by the way.
I mean, hell, she gave us a preview of it in her acceptance speech because she gave us a Macbeth line.
But here's the thing, though. We were set on, obviously, me especially, set on Carrie finally getting an Oscar, and hopefully her time will come down the line, hopefully sooner rather than later. Same with Greta. I'm sorry, AJ. But the thing is, at the end of the day, when you put your everything into one person or one movie and you're setting yourself up for a fall every single time. And Promising Young Woman started to do really well, but Carrie never really went along with it. It did for a little bit, and then we got to televise award shows, and it's like, oh, maybe she's gonna win this one, and then and it's like, well, maybe she'll win this one. Well, she won Critics' Choice. That's great. And it's like, well, maybe she's gonna win this one. She missed BAFTA. Oh God, what are we gonna do now? Spirit Awards don't matter. Oh well, they gave it to her anyway. I'm happy with that. And then we're wondering because everybody was winning, and at this point, sorry, Brian, the only person that was out of this thing was Vanessa Kirby. So, but then again, we didn't know that because if anything, she could have came up out of nowhere and just won. Because that's how.
Way in.
Yeah, that's how this race was. There was never a front runner, not really, because everybody had an even keel. Now, granted, they had different levels of even, but they still were even.
Weren't there a couple of people that kept blowing through here that were like really assertively trying to tell us McDormand won't win because 3 Billboards was so recent?
Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing, it's like, I mean, is it the right choice? No. Is it a choice that I'm happy with? Oh God, no. But if you look at the law of averages and the way things rolled when we actually got to televised award shows, and the fact that it seemed like McDormand was the only thing that yeah, there you go. The only thing that Nomadland had not going for it, and the one that was kind of being forgotten about, you had to think at the end of the day, well, yeah, why not? She won BAFTA, so let's go with our British friends and be like, doop, there you go, Frances McDormand wins. All right, we're fine.
And it was also easy to dismiss her because of the Keaton comparisons.
Totally.
Where your movie can be at the top and you're like the face of it, the sole center of it, and you can still lose to Eddie Redmayne or something. But
I don't know.
It's like Ashley was saying, Mulligan or Davis.
Right.
It's like, yeah, as far as Davis goes, usually, and it's helped me a lot in past years, as we've seen, usually my go-to is when in doubt, go with SAG.
Yes, you've always said this.
And that's usually the way to go. But like I said, I kind of just wasn't feeling that Davis thing for some reason. And I don't think it was just the Denzel vibes from 2016, but...
To be fair, AJ, and I know this from the conversations we had that were really talked about on this channel very much, you were feeling Day more than Davis.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Like I said, fucking Regina King gave the Globes much more clout than they're worth.
But yeah, that happened, and then of course we went to the main event, which was basically done in 2 seconds. Like, oh, by the way, the winner of Best Actor is not who you want to win. It's Anthony Hopkins, and he's not here, so bye.
I'm going to be totally honest. I was pulling for Boseman.
Right.
I prefer Boseman to Hopkins by, like, you can't even see it. The camera won't pick it up. That's how small.
The tiny violin.
I was amped for Boseman to get it. I am amped that Hopkins has it.
Right.
Either way, it was win-win for me. Absolutely, completely, and totally. Like, to look back on Hopkins' performance in The Father and know that one is going to be a really great kind of moment in Oscar history, just as if Boseman had won as well, would have been in itself. But I wanted to laugh my fucking ass off at the show's expense when that happened.
You don't know.
When it was, oh, it's the guy that's not here. Goodbye. End show. It was...
You know where I work. I had to hear conversations throughout the entire day of like, so, you hear that they screwed Black Panther out of the Oscar? And I'm like, I looked at him and was like, no.
If you have so much respect for him, why don't you know his fucking name first off?
The little kids in the video did.
Who's Chadwick Boseman? Black Panther.
Boseman, come on.
Who's this adult? Who's Black Panther? Barack Obama? Like, ugh.
I mean, I know there's certainly a level of pride to be had that I'm sure he would have to know that he's so synonymous with Black Panther.
Right.
I mean, at the same time, know his fucking name too.
Yeah, don't go find Matt Cardona in the street and yell "woo woo woo" to him, try to get his attention. It doesn't work. He doesn't like that. Anyway, Brian says Hopkins was the front runner before Boseman's death in the screenings of Ma Rainey.
Well, the father was at what, Sundance?
Yeah.
That's a year of buzz. So yeah. But then I think it wasn't just, like I said, I still refuse to think it's all about the real life circumstances. Because the performance hadn't been seen on a mass scale until it hit Netflix.
Right.
Which was what, late November or early December?
Yeah, because I remember
mid-December, I think.
Before I knew that Ma Rainey was going to be a big, I mean, it wasn't really overall in the main categories, but before I knew that Ma Rainey was going to be a big deal, it was playing at my local theater, and I should have went to it, and I wanted to, and I was going to that week, but I remember it left right before I could, and I never got a chance to see it. So when we get to our lineups in a few minutes, finally, I will be not able to put Boseman in there because I didn't see the performance. So I'm sorry, I couldn't see it. But yeah, and it's like Joaquin's like, I'll accept this on his behalf. Take it home.
It's getting weirder to me because now we're done. And it doesn't feel like we should be done with this at actor, but we're going in order. So this is just jarring in so many ways. I can't deal with this anymore.
We're gonna take it home soon, everyone. So one thing that we do every single year here is we have our top 8, and AJ and Ashley have watched more than enough movies to be able to do this. I, on the other hand, have only watched 8 movies that were nominated for Best Picture. So my lineups are a little bit different, and I don't know if you guys are giving winners or not. I don't remember if that's the thing or not.
No.
But
Wait, what's happening?
It's just the lists.
okay.
Well, as usual, I have mine ranked. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't, because with some of them, I was like, oh, well, I feel confident about putting 2 of these in because they got in the Oscars. The other 3, I was literally having to sort of look up and go, wait, I've only got 3 in adapted screenplay, and nothing else that I can see would be eligible for adapted, or I might not have or I might have already mentioned last year, so I don't really want to bring it up again.
So here's what we're gonna do. AJ and Ashley are going to do a traditional one. I, on the other hand, am not, because obviously I saw 8 movies, so I have to do what I can. So we're gonna start with Ashley. Ashley, you want to start, or do you want AJ to start?
Might as well go the usual order.
Hey, best adapted.
Before we get to adapted, I do want to mention it's really funny that you talked about that change at next year's ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously I didn't do a top 10 video this year.
Yes.
Because I didn't see a lot of the stuff until about late February. And then by the time about March hits, it's like, nobody's going to give a shit anymore. So I just didn't do it.
Right.
So when we get to picture, I just went ahead and did a top 10. So I guess that'll just be that.
I did a 10
but
as well.
Usually
I did a 10 as well because that's what I did last year.
I did not. I'm King Kong. But
oh, and yes, obviously, and I believe Brian alluded to the fact that I was definitely going to do this a couple of videos ago, but yes, this will also include stuff that may not be like theatrical releases and maybe technically TV movies, but you know, if you're like the whole thing we do every year where it's like, this is our personal thing, our personal preferences, you need to put on your fucking big boy pants and get over it if you don't like it, etc., all that. So all right,
well, as I go unlock a door, it's your best adapted screenplay lineup.
All right. My number 5 in adapted screenplay is a movie that deserved its nomination, One Night in Miami. that's a movie that I really loved. I was kind of surprised to see really kind of fall off when we got to the end here because it's really impressive on pretty much all counts. In this adaptation specifically, because obviously Ken Powers had an amazing year. Number 4 would be Bad Education, a movie that is significantly better than the TV movie category would lead you to believe. Like I said, it goes into all. I really wasn't sure exactly what it was when I went into it. And to be totally honest with you, given the subject matter, this is the kind of movie that could have been boring as shit if they if they went a certain way. But it could have been one of those movies where you said, "Oh, they could have just made it a documentary instead." But they made it into a fucking kick-ass movie with a fucking kick-ass script. So, and we might get into a performance later. My number 3 in adapted screenplay is the weirdly missing from the Oscar lineup, Ma Rainey. I think I've made this clear throughout the season. I fucking love Ma Rainey. And as we saw with Fences, apparently I'm going to be a huge sucker for August Wilson adaptations. Like I just eat them up like they're fucking bread and butter. So I see that, and the fact that we're gonna have so many more coming is like music to my ears. I can't wait to see what else they do with his stuff. My number 2 is something I've only mentioned briefly, like once or twice, and I don't think you'll hear about it from Ashley because I believe it was eligible for him last year. If you want to talk about creative adaptations, the personal history of David Copperfield is an incredible adaptation on all fronts. Not to mention that has Armando Iannucci ever failed? There's some stuff of his I've missed, like in kind of the TV area, but as far as I know, he doesn't have a miss.
I'd honestly say no, really. Time Trumpet was very good. His stuff with Alan Partridge back in the early days was good. Thick of It and Veep were pretty much solid throughout. Death of Stalin, I'm trying to think. Did he do another movie? I'm just not thinking off the top of my head.
In the loop.
Yeah, well, that's the sort of thick. I just think of that as the thick of it, just because of Malcolm Tucker. But yeah, he's pretty good. I wouldn't say he's done a miss yet.
And I'm assuming, to the surprise of nobody, my number 1 in adapted screenplay matches the Oscars. Can you get a better adaptation than The Father? I think I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think not. I think I've praised well, actually, I'm not done praising The Father, but
You're not.
that's just the tip of the iceberg. That The Father is incredible and deserves every accolade it's gotten, and the monumental success as far as the way everybody has seen it, whether it be critics or audiences or whoever. And that's why I say the people that are critical of Hawkins winning, you know for a fucking fact they haven't seen it.
See,
but like I said, more on that eventually.
See, the funny thing is that this is going to be AJ talks, Ashley talks, and then I just throw out a list because that's basically what's going to happen at this point because I really don't have anything to say at this circumstance. Ashley, best adapted screenplay.
So, The Father's in there, of course, and One Night in Miami's in there, of course. Mainly because I was trying to remember that didn't immediately come back into my head because it sort of doesn't appear anywhere else in my list. But it's sort of like what I'm trying to do here is like credit the sort of best things out of some of the productions. So that's why my other 3 recommendations would be Lisa Owen's adaptation of the graphic novel of Days of the Bagnalled Summer. Just a very quirky sort of British comedy thing. Just very nicely adapted. I've heard good things about the graphic novel, but just the way it was put on film was really nice. Then Lee Whannell for The Invisible Man, because as soon as I saw there was a Blumhouse adaptation of a classic monster film, I was like, this is just going to be a trash thing. But Lee got it right. He didn't try and, he didn't try and mummy it or anything like that. He went his own way with a very interesting sort of twist on the concept, especially with the whole domestic abuse sort of thing, and really sort of modernizing it. So I really appreciate you know, taking the concept but actually sort of going with it in a different direction. And
Yeah,
then
because you would think it's
oh, go ahead.
you would think it's laying it on a little thick, but the domestic abuse allegory really added to the horror and made like really grounded it.
Yeah. And then which will probably crack a smile from Owen, Bill and Ted Face the Music. Because it had no right to be good. We know what the reputation is with films that are long in gestation and then get put out, and it was actually really damn good.
I don't have any up close by. I would be able to have it. So bye.
A nice, pleasant surprise, which you needed sort of in the summer.
All right. And after you talk, and my response is this: my adapted screenplay, When is the Father? I don't need to say anything else. Nope.
That's fair.
Competition. Best original screenplay.
All right, there's a lot of options in this one.
Nice.
Number 5, I settled on Onward, which I've been saying all season I think was the better Pixar movie of the year. May not be the best animated movie of the year because Wolfwalkers exists, but certainly the best Pixar movie. But also in a way that, because I've been kind of, like I said, kind of cynical for a while now, especially animated category. Like I watch Inside Out and I don't give a fuck when everybody around me is weeping. I was like, I don't get it. Like fuck Bing Bong, I don't care. So it had been a while since I felt something as much as I felt something when I watched Onward. And it's like the creativity that comes from that, but also the way, just what it's saying exactly, the way that sneaks up on you. How it was there the whole time, and then it's like that big profound moment at the end where everything comes together. Yeah, I haven't felt something like that, especially during an animated movie, for a while now. So that was greatly appreciated. And I kind of hate how much it's been overshadowed by Soul, because I do think it's the better one, but I do like Soul also. But yeah, there's that. My number 4 is once again, I really try not to bring real world elements into this and like get influenced by certain things, but for many reasons, my number 4 is Another Round. Because obviously not only is it just the whole thing of them having to sort of, like, it's crazy to me that it was reworked to be more about like life, really life and death. Because it's like that whole concept is so inherent to the story. I can't imagine what the script was before they tweaked it to be more in that direction. And it's like, and the how the whole thing feels so human at the same time. It's like there's such a tragedy to it, but it's also consistently funny. And it goes back and forth between these things in a way that you would think would be really jarring, but it's so smooth how they go from funny to tragic to funny to tragic and so on. So that whole thing just kind of blew my mind. The tone that captured just really blew my mind and did it so effectively. So yes. My number 3 is Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which I think the thing I really appreciate about it the most is we talk about like how clever a lot of these scripts are and how they have creative ideas or the way they juggle certain things. When it comes to writing, it takes a lot of work also to have a simplicity that works. Like it feels like it's in there, but it feels like there's like hardly any in the movie. Because like everything, like the characters and their interactions all feel so real, but it's really not without much dialogue, but the whole story just tells itself in such a way where it could almost be told silently, with the exception of one crucial scene at the end, which was kind of the scene that put it over. And it's like, this is just the writing in this is incredible. It's the scene where the title comes into play, and it's just really incredible. So yeah, my number two is Sound of Metal, of course. It's great when we get to the awards movies because I feel like I don't really have to say much else because we've talked about it so much. Um, so yes, I'll pretty much just say that Sound of Metal speaks for itself. And my number one, naturally, is a movie that I've been plugging as one of my absolute favorites of this year. Once again, my number one matches the Oscars. So need I say more about Promising Young Woman and its amazing script?
Absolutely. Real quick, Brian says, speaking Kemp Powers, he's going to be one of the directors for Into the Spider-Verse 2. Remember, people, Owen put Jay and Silent Bob Reboot in his rebirth in it. Take a shot in his lineup, so that makes why Ashley put Bill and Ted Face the Music in his. And Lorraine says, AJ during Inside Out was me during Up. I couldn't cry for a character I spent all of 10 minutes with.
I mean, Up works for me, but I get that for sure.
Ashley, best original screenplay.
So the two award ones are Promising Young Woman and Trial of Chicago 7. I feel they were strong and just like really well put together. I know Promising Young Woman has some argument about the content of its stuff. But I feel it's very, very well written. I wouldn't say it's as good as her stuff from the first season of Killing Eve, but it's still pretty strong. And then I get to shine a light on the smaller ones. Because I wanted to put Never Really Sometimes Always, but I figured AJ would have done that. So let's shine the light on three others. Rose Glass for St. Maud. Holy, the 21st century 21st century Wicker Man, especially with that ending.
It's a self Wicker Man.
just really haunting, just powerful stuff. Kelly O'Sullivan for St. Francis. I think she did a really good job of like writing what felt like an authentic story of a 30-something woman, rather than all these dodgy romantic comedies that we've had for so many decades. Whereas it just felt real and to the point. And then the proper left field one. Garrett Shanley for Vivarium. An absolute mindfuck of a script and a concept. Just how it's just... I don't want to say anymore because I want people to watch it. It is that... For a sci-fi thing, it's... I mean, it's not original, but at the same time, it does things that I haven't seen recently in sci-fi work. So, check it out. Good turns from Imogen Poots and Jesse Weinberg as well. But, yeah. It's sort of the other side of the Wicker Man scale. I got both. I've got both sides of the Wicker Man.
Is Jesse Weinberg a joke I don't get, or did you just misspeak?
Oh, Eisenberg. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
it was him whining in Justice League. I think that's what put me off.
I really wish. I don't want to. Everybody I know loves it, so I don't want to stray away from what you're saying. I'm just going to add. I really wish I had loved Vivarium as much as everybody else.
I don't think. I don't know whether it as a whole, as a production, and the acting is great, but it's just like the ingenuity of the script. It's sort of like, I don't want to compare it to Jordan Peele's Get Out, but it's sort of like trying to do something different with the genre, rather than just this, the typical stuff. Like with Lee Whannell and The Invisible Man, trying to do something different. That's what I'm wanting to see out of films, rather than just go for the easy route.
Yeah, because it kind of starts off as just like a Twilight Zone episode, but it goes in its own directions for sure.
Yes.
All right, my original screenplay lineup is made up pretty much of my number 4 is Mank. My number 3 is Trial of the Chicago 7. My number 2 is Sound of Metal. And my number 1, shock surprise, Promising Young Woman. Best supporting actress.
All right. Once again, real quick, might be a movie or two here that's dropped that people might say, "Oh, that doesn't count. Go fuck yourself."
What'd you think, Abe?
My number 5 is Olivia Cooke for Sound of Metal. This is a performance I had to watch the movie a couple of times to really let sink in. And I think a lot of it has to do with the double-sidedness of it, where she's effective enough in the first scenes, where she's like the ultimate support. Like, you want to talk about, supporting actress, it's a little on the nose, but yeah, as far as like her devotion to him and the whole scene where it's like, if you harm yourself, I harm myself, stuff like that. Like, that in itself is award worthy. But then you bring in her scenes at the end, and you have this total and complete contrast where it's basically two entirely different characters. And I especially love the way they show this off through the music. Like, compare her at the piano with her dad to the opening scenes. And it's like, that's acting as well. Like, you would think there's different things going on here, but it's all in the performance. And she has to really sell those two completely different sides while doing all the other effective stuff in between. And it's a really great performance. Number 4, sorry, Owen. I toyed with this idea, and me and you talked about the idea of, does this even count as a performance? But it's like, technically it does. And then I was able to watch the movie again recently, and it's like, oh yeah, it is a great performance, all things considered. It's Swanky in Nomadland.
I figured you were going there.
Because I believe she said the performance is 99% her, with the cancer subplot being obviously fictional.
Right.
But still, as somebody who's a non-actor, you have to sell that. That's a big thing to sell as a non-actor playing themselves. And when you see her talking, after we find out what's wrong, and she's kind of talking about, like when she was out and she was just kind of contemplating life in general, and it's like, yeah, you could see that's probably coming from a real place because she's an older woman. She's looking back on her life. But when you watch that scene in the context, it absolutely feels like somebody that's literally right at the end of her life, like the fictional Swanky is. And I feel like that just hit in so many ways. And like I said, especially coming from a non-actor, like I said, like, imagine how weird it must be to play a dying version of yours. Like, it's one thing to play a version of yourself, because being in front of a camera like that on a movie like this isn't as natural as it might seem. Like, it might sound like, Chloe Zhao just turned on the camera and they just lived. It's like, when you're in front of a camera and you're not used to it, you're probably not going to be natural. Especially if you're in a movie with Frances McDormand. But the fact that she created a character out of herself is just incredibly impressive. And I'm so glad she was there at the ceremony last night. So that's how I feel about her. Number 3 is Talia Ryder for Never Really, Sometimes, Always. Kind of in that same Olivia Cooke vibe, where it's like we're taking supporting pretty literal, because the whole thing is she's basically supportive of the main character. But what's so amazing that Ryder does here is how naturally she does that. Because I was talking about how, like, it feels like there's hardly any dialogue in it. Even if there is, it doesn't feel like it. But her presence is there. I noticed this especially in the Spirit Awards, where she was nominated. And the Spirit Awards, unlike other shows, had clips. And it's like, when they showed Ryder's clip, it was just like, this isn't the kind of performance you can really put in a clip. You have to see the whole package throughout. You have to feel her presence there throughout the whole thing. Weirdly enough, it was weirdly like, bear with me, it was weirdly comparable to Clooney in Gravity. Like, remember how it's like, oh, Clooney's there, but he's just being Clooney. But then when Clooney leaves the movie, you get the sense of how alone Bullock is. And it's like, if there was a point where Ryder had left the movie, there would have been a huge piece of it missing, even if it seemed like she wasn't doing anything big. And the way she did that so naturally is it's kind of hard to describe. You just kind of have to see it, and the way she's just kind of there the whole time. But it really works in this really subtle way. So I really loved her in that. My number 2 is somebody that definitely should have gotten more traction. Glenn Turman in Ma Rainey, who is really just as much the heart of the movie as Levy, Bozeman's character, where he also gets all these monologues, and he eventually has the two of them together have what is the big turning point of the story, we'll say. And there's so much that has to build to that moment between the two of them, and you don't really realize it's building until you reach the end of it. And then you look back on it and you see just how much was leading to all that. And oh my god, I skipped a supporting actor. Is anybody going to stop me?
Probably.
Oh.
In the floor.
Oh, god damn it. Oh, for Christ's sake.
Let's go with the lineups, please.
My number 2 in supporting actress is Olivia Colman for The Father.
Okay.
God damn it.
We don't elaborate as much.
Yeah. Hopkins is amazing. Hopkins is stellar. I understand some people resent the movie for having 2 different sides to it, but Coleman's side of the story is just as important.
Right.
And the fact that the power of what Hopkins is going through is like, I could watch a whole movie that's just seeing it through Hopkins's perspective and, everything changing and all that. But to have that other layer that is Coleman's performance, that's really bringing in like the repercussions of what this is as well to other, because it feels like it's just as important to tell the story of people who are affected by this that don't actually, that are there, that are the loved, like, there's the loved one and then there's the one that's affected by that for that reason. And she just sold that in this really totally heartbreaking way. And my number 1 is Philippa Sue for Hamilton. I know Goldsberry is the one that a lot of people love even more, but Philippa Sue is the one that just really got to me, especially like, even if I had to pick one moment that just completely solidifies how award-worthy her performance is, that scream after their son is killed will never not have the impact that it did the first time I heard it. And the fact that she has that presence throughout the whole thing, and it's like, that's where I feel like there's such an emotional core to that character. And then of course it's really hardly even the actual like songs that she has or the moments that she has. It's the scream when their son is killed and then the gasp that ends the entire show. Just in itself would be award worthy, but everything in between as well is perfect. And I'm so glad when we get to supporting actor, I only have to do 4 now.
Ashley, go.
So, on top of the Oscar contenders of Yujin Yun for Minari and Olivia Colman for The Father and Mia Bakalova for Borat's subsequent movie film, the other 2 are Jennifer L. for St. Maud.
Yes.
And Samara Weaving and Bridget Lundy Payne for Bill and Ted Face and Music. I know Bridget is non-binary, so it's like I didn't know where to put her, but I feel it's those 2 and the chemistry that they have together that is why Bill and Ted works. Whoever did the casting did a really good job in getting Samara and Bridget on.
Okay. My supporting actress lineup is Amanda Seyfried for Mank, Olivia Colman for the father, Olivia Cook, Sound of Metal, Yu Jung Young for Minari, and my number one is actually going to be Alison Brie for Promising Young Woman. Oh, that's all I need to say. We're has gone too long. We're going to go to Best Supporting Actor now.
All right, my number 5. It was inevitable. Somebody from Chicago 7 was going to be here. The question was who.
Of course.
The performance, I mean, they're all amazing. I even love Redmayne in them.
Same.
But the performance I keep coming back to is Mark Rylance.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's like I love what Frank Langella's doing, but it's the way you see that really starting to get the Rylance. Like, Rylance is the one where it feels like he's like a volcano waiting to erupt through the whole thing. Like, everybody else is kind of, they find a place to be in that really works throughout the story. And they do have some of these moments, like the scene where Cohen's on the stand is really great for him and kind of a sort of difference from what he was doing throughout the movie, but built in a really nice way. But it's that way we're just watching Rylance waiting to erupt is something that just really draws me in. And I kind of love that we get a payoff to that when he's just like on the couch getting high with them. It's like just the balance of that. And of course the big scene being when he's interrogating Redmayne for preparation. Just really completely sold him for me as the one that I would go with from that movie. My number 4 in supporting actor. Every now and then there's one of these weird instances where I'm able to pinpoint a performance from a movie that I don't like and put it here because it's that good. For me, the one standout thing in Mank, Arliss Howard totally deserved awards traction.
Absolutely.
He's quite honestly the only thing that deserved awards traction outside of some tech categories, probably, at least in my opinion. Not here very often, but when he is, he's incredible. And the way he's like just playing to every crowd he's around. And it's like where he's constantly resorting to tears, whether they're fake or whether they're real. We never quite know, and that's the glory of it.
I love it. It's just such a great like F you at the very end of it too. Oh, by the way, he's the reason why you have a paycheck. Done the party.
So yeah, a very short but very great performance that we needed more of in that movie for sure. Number 3 is Clark Peters in The Five Bloods. Somebody else who should have gotten a lot more traction. Where he's got the whole kind of subplot in this movie that might seem like it's the movie kind of, you know, some people might think it's the overlong portions of the movie or the stuff that's not as necessary, but still the way he sells the whole plot of him and the Vietnamese woman and the child that they have together is a whole thing, and it's like a whole layer to the movie that explores character in a way that the movie does so well, just kind of in general. And then as that goes on, especially when it gets to the scenes at the end with like Jonathan Majors and everybody, just all throughout there's this whole sort of, it feels arcing, but it's also kind of a straight line at the same time in a way that's kind of hard to describe. But yes, an amazing actor that's always kind of been on the sidelines that got a really, really amazing part in this movie. My number 2 has already been described. That is Glenn Turman from Ma Rainey.
Good. Yeah.
And of course, somebody I've been praising quite a bit this season that matches the movie of my supporting actress winner. Of course, my number 1 in supporting actor is Daveed Diggs for Hamilton. One of the main reasons I wished Hamilton had been more eligible in the award season, because I would have loved to have seen that SAG nomination is still amazing, and I love it. But once again, I'm a sucker for playing 2 different characters. But on top of that itself, the way he just has such command of that stage is, I would say, indescribable. That so many people are so familiar with Hamilton now, I don't even need to. I just say Daveed Diggs and Hamilton. There should be a choir of people that just say yes. So and you know, Guns and Ships is like, I mean, how do you take that away from him? You can't.
Ashley, what do you got for supporting actor?
So, matching the Oscars, I have Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. I have Rassi for Sound of Metal. I have Alan Kim for Minari because I think that's a very. It's always tough to get a good child performance, so it deserves credit in the role. And then I literally just put the Trial of the Chicago 7 because there's too many. If I'd have to single out one, I actually would have singled out Rylance's performance. But there's enough in there from Cohen and Langella. Even the brief bit of Keaton is just like really good. They're all at the top of their game. The fifth one is J.K. Simmons for Palm Springs.
Yeah.
I just think it works, the sort of the role that he has and how it fits in. Just maybe it's just because of the manner of J.K. that it just feels like a role that's perfect for him. So yeah, go see that. Go ahead, Owen.
My best supporting actor, my number 5 is Bo Burnham for Promising Young Woman. I really wish I could have got that a little bit more traction as well. My number 4 is Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. My number 3 is Arliss Howard for Mank, for the reasons AJ, then some. My number 2 is Sacha Baron Cohen because I very much enjoyed his portrayal of Abby Hoffman in Trial of Chicago 7. And yeah, number 1 for me, Paul Raci for Sound of Metal. I love that performance. I greatly do, and I needed more of him. I wish there was more of him.
Speaking of somebody we needed more of, there is one person I seriously considered that I absolutely would be here if they had more screen time, and that is Max Greenfield in Promising Young Woman.
Yes, yes.
If he just had like a few more minutes of screen time, I would have done it.
Speaking of Promising Young Woman, Best Actress.
Yes, perfect segue.
Rolled it riding like a Disney manager.
My number 5 is Evan Rachel Wood for Kajillionaire. I almost didn't recognize her. When you talk about like actresses sort of, I don't want to say uglifying themselves, but like her posture's different, her voice is different, her hair is different.
Charlie.
And she creates this whole new character entirely through the physicality alone. Until the performance really starts to have an arc when we bring Gina Rodriguez into it, and she kind of just start seeing her character kind of open up to where she's like almost an entirely new person by the end of the movie. It took me a while to get into the movie, and really kind of her performance as well. But it's one of those ones where once you reach a certain point in it, you realize just how much everything is working. So in retrospect, it totally works. My number 4 is Sidney Flanagan for Never Really, Sometimes, Always. Not for too dissimilar reasons. I went with Talia Ryder as well. Like I said, not a shitload of dialogue, but a lot of emotion. And especially that scene towards the end, especially where, like I said, the title comes into play and all that. So yes, my number 3 is Morfydd Clark for Saint Maud. We were kind of on that same train with Ashley talking about the movie itself. Like I said, it's a performance that's so terrifying yet somehow sympathetic also, and it's so yeah, she just really made
a roller coaster. It's just like, oh okay, what the fuck?
And in a Just World, a star-making performance. And since this is the last video of this season, I'm going to go as long or short as I fucking want. All right? Number 2 is Julia Garner for The Assistant, which is this... It's another one that's like really, really subtle, because the whole story is the thing where we're kind of put in a position in it where it's like it's a movie that could seem really unsatisfying when you like first watch it because of where it stops. And like I said, it's not till after that you realize what kind of story we're being told. And it's like we as the audience are put in the position of somebody who is helpless in this situation. So there's not really going to be a solution, I guess you could say. So it's up to Garner to portray that, to basically portray what it is that we're feeling, this helplessness in this situation, and personify that for the whole sort of thing. that it's even talking about. So the whole movie hinges on whether or not that performance works. And she was able to, like I said, it's not big by any means, but it's, yeah. So obviously, my number one is one that we've talked about at great length, Carey Mulligan in Promising Young Woman, because we do get, because it's a case where she's obviously very off-putting at the start when she, that customer comes in and she says, like, I'm not, like, she doesn't even serve the customer. But then she's able to immediately switch a little bit when Bo Burnham comes in, almost becoming a whole other character where she's basically in a rom-com when Bo Burnham comes in. But then the darkness of where she's coming from and all the talk of Nina and all the like clues to that, and it's like I found the movie off-putting when I first saw it at the start, because it's like, where is this character coming from? You can't quite tell, but then you realize that's like the mystery of it, and the way she's playing that mystery so well is insane. So that's, and then by the time we get to the very end and she gets her big moment, is like sort of like what I was talking about with Mark Rylance, where it's like it's only then that you realize it's almost like there was a volcano just waiting to erupt.
Will it help?
And then when we
like AJ, it's funny you mentioned that, because it's like it feels like just like a traditional romantic comedy, and then all of a sudden it flips a switch and turns into a horror movie. Basically, that's the vibe. Immediately changes.
And what's really amazing about that is that you don't know if she's the hero or the villain of that horror movie.
No. You know, if at the end of the day, you don't know if you should be rooting, even though it's her, and I'm going to be biased, but you shouldn't be rooting for the villain here, and it feels like that's what we're building towards, but then we find out, obviously, it may not necessarily, and there's a gray area here, and that's the level that we ride for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
To say the least.
So yes, that would have been a really, really deserving win.
Yeah, totally. Tell me about it.
But at least we can do it.
We're not the only ones going to do it either. I will say right now, with her and everything like that, it's kind of like we are able to give our personal lineups here, and the fact that this is our opinion. Some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. Like AJ said, he's putting Hamilton in here. He doesn't, what he wanted. I picked Jay and Bob reboot last year. I got a lot of flack for that. Again, that's what I wanted. That's what I believe. That's the reason why we're getting the way we are. And these performances you may not seen before, it's giving you a reason to check them out in retrospect. Maybe learning people about movies that they may not have seen. Like, for example, like people in the chat that have just not been able to catch up. Lorraine, for example, this may give her a reason to watch these movies that she didn't even know about before. Not just the Oscar movies, but stuff we're talking about, like Never Really, Sometimes Always, and things like that. So we're kind of doing a service network here, basically.
Oh, in regards to that, I got a doozy of a movie coming up in director that I don't think anybody knows about.
Let real quick before we go any further, Ashley, I want to stop you real quick just before we get to the chat. Brian says we got a blooper. Coleman is the same position number that AJ had on his supporting actress lineup in 2018. Interesting.
What was that?
Your supporting actress lineup for Coleman was the same in 2018 than it is this year.
Huh.
Randomly enough. It's odd that Philip Sue went leading at the Tonys. Yes, that scream was unexpected in her burning papers. The burn number specifically. Brian goes, will it help? What I miss? Hamilton. I'm muting AJ right now about Mulligan if he's going on spoilers about Promising Young Woman. He just wants to make sure you're not like giving away anything.
No.
Which you really kind of did.
If we want people to watch it, where are we going to tell them?
Yeah, exactly. Especially watching that movie in a theater that actually had people in it. That was the jarring thing. I loved every second of that. And watching people slowly meander out of the theater, like we've done so many times in the past. After like, just watch. I don't know, but I want to go right back in and watch it again. And some of them did.
I still remember November getting the tickets to that special nationwide screening of Ammonite, and then the women at the back after the credits started coming up going, what's all the fuss about that? It's just like
at that, Ashley, what do you got for Best Actress?
So I have Kerry Mulligan for Promising Young Woman, which means I skip it over because it's got nominated. The great thing is nothing else from the nominations makes it in here. I have to now give only side mentions to Julia Garner for The Assistant and Morfydd Clark for St. Maud because AJ said what needed to be said. However, I also want to put Kelly O'Sullivan in here for St. Francis because not only did she write it, she also played it as well, and I think she did a very good job. And then Kristen Milioti for Palm Springs, which will make sense when we get to Best Actor.
Lorraine says, yes, my mom and I are watching The Father this weekend, so this very much has been a service.
Nice.
We aim to please, Lorraine. Thank you for
Just be
coming
pleased
in.
that you can see it. Over here, we're having to wait till June, apart from me that managed to see it early because of the special preview screening.
And it was The Father was literally the second to last movie I saw this season because of the way that everything fell, and I had to depend on Cinemark's Best Picture marathon week in order to be able to watch it, or I never would have seen it either because it never came here otherwise. It was here for one show, and that's it. Luckily, the AMC decided they didn't have a problem with bringing it out, so it actually got full sets. I was fine. Mank, one show. 4:30, one night only. And if I missed it, I never would have saw the movie. Best Actress, Carey Mulligan. There's nothing to say otherwise. There's no competition. There's nobody else I need to nominate. I don't want to talk about anybody else. Carey all day, every day. Moving on. Best Actor.
Guys, I am fucking blown away. I'm looking at this lineup right now, this Best Actor lineup. Every single one of these fucking guys would be a winner in another year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This
whole year. So.
This is one of my favorite Best Actor lineups I have ever had.
Oh, nice.
And I'm just realizing I made a hilarious typo, but we'll get to that. Actually, we're getting to that now. My number 5 is Hugh Jackman for Bad Education.
Nice.
When I reviewed it, I said it's his best performance. And I know the Logan crowd is going to be very angry with me if I say that, even though Bad Education is not really the kind of movie they'd probably ever see. He's doing something here where you're not going to go in sympathetic if you know what the subject is, but there might be portions of him that seem sympathetic. And then there's the whole thing of he's almost like he's in the midst of a thriller, but then there's the whole thing of, is he the villain of this thriller? And he just goes back and forth and all around this whole time. You're never quite sure how much you should hate him, because that charm goes such a long way.
You don't know how complicit he is in everything.
Yeah. And it's the hilarious typo that I made was apparently it's Hugh Jackman in a movie called Hugh Jackman.
I just thought that his name was Jackman. I would have been funnier.
It might have been. Matt Damon.
So, my number 4 had a lot of hype behind him, and I completely get it. Mads Mikkelsen in Another Round. When I was talking about those tones, when I was talking about it in screenplay, a lot of that falls on him. Like that whole thing where he can be funny and tragic in like one singular moment. And it's like, and it's always quiet. It's never like, there's never a lot of big moments. I think the whole reason the dance scene exists is because the character had so many quiet moments up to that point. And it was like the whole ending was just an unleashing. And it's, like I said, there's so many performances here that I've talked about where it's like it's all about the building.
Yeah.
And this is one of those, but it's like so like tragic and heartbreaking, but then he'll just do something that'll just have like such a wicked sense of humor to it. And it's gonna be looked back on badly that he missed the Oscar lineup for good reason. Number 3, we've talked about to a great extent Anthony Hopkins for the father. Like I don't know what else can be said. And like I was saying, perfectly deserving Oscar winner. Even if my number 2 is Chadwick Boseman, which I basically alluded to. Like I said, Boseman is just so incredible. Like you hear the word electrifying, and the fact that it describes a performance. I almost wonder if I knew what electrifying really was until I saw Boseman in this movie. And it's and that's the thing too, is it's like it's through the whole thing, like the whole movie, the whole hour and a half has this unbelievable energy that's just all coming from him. Like even when Viola Davis is here and Boseman's just like in the background holding his trumpet, you still feel like he's the biggest person in the room from this performance. And it's so let me get on to my number 1.
Can I say it? I know where it is. You've been trying to talk about this guy for the longest time. You tried to will him into existence into the actor lineup, and you have been saying the praises of this man since day one. AJ's number 1 is Delroy Lindo for... Go ahead.
The Five Bloods.
Yes. Speak on, good sir.
I was talking about... I've talked about before how much... I think it's a little childish the way people complain when the person they want to get nominated doesn't get nominated, and they say, oh, fuck the Oscars, they don't know anything and all that stuff. And it's like, well, if you watch the races and stuff like that, you know, like even Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse, right. It was like, it's ludicrous that it didn't happen, but I get it. The Lighthouse is a fucked up movie. It wasn't, not everybody was going to take to it.
True.
Delroy Lindo's the first time in a long time I have felt genuinely pissed off about a lack of awards traction. I don't know if I felt this, like probably the last time was Tom Hanks for Captain Phillips. And it's just everything he portrays here, because he starts off as a character that immediately sets himself up as somebody that we're not going to like. But then the way we see his camaraderie with everybody else, the other guys, we just kind of are drawn to him. In this, he'll say this and we'll hate him, but then he'll do this and we'll, like, you know, he feels like the leader of the group. You're always kind of drawn to him no matter what. But then it's like his portrayal of that, his portrayal of PTSD, and then by the end of the movie, he's just gone into a full descent into madness. And that descent into madness is something we kind of see throughout. And then just by the time when he goes off by himself at the end and just peaks, and like all his dialogue is straight into the camera, and we're literally watching him lose his fucking mind in real time, is like, how can I go? It's very much like the whole thing is inspired by Jojo Sarah Madre quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of what we saw with Bogart in that movie, but in such a more layered way and with such a more drawn out and built up way. It is the performance of the year in any category. And this lack of awards traction is just something that has completely baffled me.
So to tie into that, Brian says, Vivo, going straight to Netflix. He said, I predicted Mickelson for actor nomination, which didn't happen. I'm still happy I predicted Vinterberg's director nom. Strong lineup for your actor race, AJ. It says not even nominating Miranda or Leslie Odom Jr. for Hamilton. Yeah,
or Riz Ahmed. It was hard. Yeah. But I mean, it's a perfect fucking lineup. It was so hard.
Ashley, best actor.
Sadly, he's too similar to the Oscars. I have Hopkins for The Father, Ahmed for Sound of Metal, Stephen Yeun for Minari, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and then Andy Samberg for Palm Springs. This is where I can explain it, because it's just the three have the great sort of chemistry, given how their stories are very intertwined with everything. Mm-hmm. It just works, and it's the chemistry between them, along with the script, which I didn't mention, but it's it's strong enough that it just actually works, and it's good to see. Sandberg's been on pretty good form if you think about it, because was it Hot Rod or something? I can't remember.
Yeah.
The first one, and then obviously Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Love talking about that last season too.
Sandberg's doing some good stuff, and it's sort of creeping under the radar. It's the first time it sort of got with its number of like debut screenplay and debut film, and getting occasionally sometimes in the comedy categories over this award season. So I'm pleased to see it is getting something, having now been able to catch it because they decided to put it on Amazon UK a few weeks back. Finally.
Well, since AJ couldn't do it, I certainly can, because I only watched 8 movies. My number 5 is Stephen Yeun for Minari. My number 4 is Lakeith Stanfield for Judas for the Messiah, which I would have loved to see that get actually nominated in the right category, but no, it didn't. I put it in Right the Wrongs. My number 3 is Gary Oldman for Mank. I love the portrayal. I very much enjoyed the movie. I know I liked it a lot more than AJ did. My number 2 is Anthony Hopkins for The Father, which is not surprising. Then my number 1, of course, is Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal. I love that movie. I really do. And I feel like it justified to have a Best Actor win. And I'm glad that the spirits agreed with me.
Yeah, going back, we talked about Miranda, Odom, and Riz Ahmed. Stanfield was my number 6.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
It was a bitch to take him out.
If we had like honorable mentions, I'm sure that would have worked. But if I would have been able to watch more stuff, we could have done honorable mentions this year, but it just wasn't a possibility. Let's see if we got anything in chat before we go to Best Director. No, we do not. Best Director.
Okay.
2 cats left. This season's over, ladies and gentlemen.
So my number 5 in director is, I wrote this out phonetically to make sure I got it.
Oh boy.
The director's name is J.P. Valkeappa, who did a movie called Dogs Don't Wear Pants.
Yes.
Dogs Don't Wear Pants is a movie that was recommended to me by a friend. She didn't tell me what it was about. She just gave me the title. And I was like, I'll check this out. I have to see what this is. A husband's wife dies in a drowning accident. She gets caught in a net and drowns while their daughter's still like very small. And then years later, when the daughter is grown up, she wants to get a piercing. They go to get her a piercing, and the father accidentally finds like this den-like area that is what's the order of the letters? BDSM area.
Oh, dominatrix. Enter the dominatrix.
Yep. This actress wears leather for 99% of her screen time, and she's one of the main characters. But it's kind of shocking. It's extremely grotesque. There are a couple of scenes in it that are almost unwatchable as far as like the grotesquerie on screen. But at the end of the day, it's about self-destruction, but it's also kind of a sweet love story. It's basically everything 50 Shades thought it was.
Okay.
Oh, so after the win for 365 days at the Razzies, it's like, so that's what the cosmetic person should have tried to copy. I see.
And it's like it's so dark. Like I said, it's still got this dark sense of humor to it. And like I said, it's really the sweetness that just it's just really weird that it managed to somehow accomplish that. When you want to talk about juggling tones, like holy fucking shit. And that's the thing, is I have a hard time recommending it because I don't think a lot of people will like it. It's one of those things where just you do or you don't. Yeah, it kind of just hooked me in a way I really was not expecting. So that's my number 5 in director.
All right.
My top 4 will be significantly more recognizable. 4, Darius Martyr, of course, incredible. Number 3, I just realized my middle 3 are fucking debuts, which is just incredible. Like, we've had so many debuts this year that were so amazing, and they're still continuing to happen. I'll be reviewing Shiva Baby really soon, and we'll talk about that again. But yeah, number 4 is Darius Martyr. Number 3 is Emerald Fennell. You know the top 2 are great. If Emerald Fennell's great,
I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
Number 2, Florian Zeller.
Yep.
No question, absolutely. Number 1, don't know where the fuck he was all season. Spike Lee.
Oh.
And it's an accidental balance because in 2018 I gave Black Klansman picture, but gave director to Rob Marshall.
Yep.
So now Spike Lee gets director. I think he's. We'll see what happens in the next category.
Ashley, what do you got for best director?
All I can say is I just went onto Amazon and bought Dogs Don't Wear Pants.
I want a review on this channel.
I need to go down a rabbit hole.
Next.
So the obvious 2 are Darius Martyr for Sound of Metal and Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman. The less obvious 3 Dean Paraso for Bill and Ted Face the Music. Because again, looking at some of the stuff that he's done beforehand, he shouldn't be doing often good films. Because I'm trying to remember.
He did Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, but he also did Fun with Dick and Jane and Red 2, which didn't need to exist, in all honesty.
That's right, he did do Red 2.
Yeah. So when he was brought on, to be fair, he was brought on to direct before Red 2 even came out. That's how long that film took to make. But I think he did a great job. Wrong tab. Celine Sciamma for Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Because if I can't do cinematography, director's the next best thing. And speaking of cinematography, Nolan for Tenet.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a great film, but in terms of the direction and everything and the scale of the production, and again trying to do what he wanted to do, I wanted to put Pattinson in for supporting actor, but I just feel like the acting performances could do with what script was given to them, which wasn't, sometimes a bit too confusing. But in terms of some of the stuff that's presented in that film, it deserves to at least get some acknowledgement, I would say. Whether it's necessarily like the best, I don't know. But in terms of what was presented and the ideas presented, again, I'm trying to give credit to something like that rather than Chloe Zhao. If you notice, none of us have put Nomadland anywhere near this shit.
Is it really? Is our only mention of Nomadland going to be me mentioning Swanky?
100. So that's your director lineup, correct, Ashley?
That's the 5, yeah.
Okay. My number 5 is Shaka King for Judas and the Black Messiah. My number 4 is David Fincher for Mank. My number 3 is Aaron Sorkin for Trial of Chicago 7. My number 2 is Darius Martyr for Sound of Metal. And of course, my number 1, Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman.
Yeah, once again, much like Stanfield, Shaka King's my number 6 if I had one.
Yeah. Best Picture. Now, you guys, I'm pretty sure you have, 10?
Mm-hmm.
You have 10. Thankfully, we've talked about most of them already, but I only have 5 because I only like 8 movies, and no. So.
Yeah, only one of mine needs an explanation, and it's a brief one.
I mean, technically, I do have 11 because I want to cheat the system, but that's why I've got an honourable mention. But it's AJ's turn, so.
All right, real quick. My number 10 is Dogs Don't Wear Pants.
Yay!
Number 9, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. Number 8 is the only one I haven't really gotten to talk about yet. So just briefly, I'll say Judas and the Black Messiah.
Really interesting.
Judas and the Black Messiah is really good when I first saw it, and I was like, it would make as far as like the '70s crime movie feel and the whole undercover aspect, just it being reversed. I feel like it would be the perfect double feature with Black Klansman. I saw Judas and Black Messiah once, and it was really good. I saw Judas and Black Messiah a second time. If you saw Judas and the Black Messiah and you thought it was good, watch it again. It's better. I assure you. Number 7, Sound of Metal. Number 6, Bad Education. Number 5, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Number 4, The Father. Number 3, The Five Bloods. Number 2, Promising Young Woman. Number 1, Hamilton.
Of course, I'm not surprised at any of them. Ashley, what's your best picture lineup?
This is the best bit because I have 4 that have not featured anywhere else on this list but make it in here because I'd like to get a mix of stuff. So the honourable mention, because technically if I go on my sort of rules of it has to be released this year,
Okay.
It's my number 1 from last year, but it's the black and white version of Parasite. I didn't know that, like, you know, just... It didn't... The weird thing is, it didn't do anything... Because I've seen both Zack Snyder's Justice League now, as well as the Justice's Grey version. Because apparently one of the distributors over here decided to release it, so I've now seen 8 hours rather than 4. The grey there didn't help. Whereas with Parasite, it just like the colour becomes a subject, not just the house, the colour. The black becomes more black, the white becomes more white, and the grey becomes so much more grey. So in no particular order, I'll quickly mention the ones that I've already mentioned, so I can get into that. So St. Francis, Bill and Ted Face the Music, Saint Maud, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Minari, and Sound of Metal. The other ones, it's sort of a combination of like it doesn't fit the other categories, or in the case of Rocks, it's enough of an ensemble where I don't want to give acknowledgement to a single person. The way that just gels with the chemistry between everybody because of the way it's cast and because of the nature of how it was made, it just works as a great coming of age story. Wolfwalkers, because I am sick and tired of just go to Disney Plus and watch their stuff. My only disappointment is most people have only seen it on Apple Plus, which is just as annoying, when it should have got a proper release in cinemas. Never did really over here because of the pandemic. Really underrated. And Sean Bean. Collective. A fascinating documentary that doesn't even give you a happy ending. The thing that just the stuff that happens at the end, it's like, oh god. Collective 2's happening, everybody. Somewhere down the line there's going to be a sequel to this. And then the Spike Lee film nobody has talked about yet. David Byrne's American Utopia.
Yeah.
Spike did such a great job in capturing the performance. I didn't like some of the crazy people in the crowd that were just like didn't know that they were going to be on film, so it just makes them look like idiots. But no, it probably helps that I'm a Byrne and Talking Heads fan, and certainly as well his adaptation of Janelle Monáe's I want to say his name because they say it throughout all the time, but it's got another title. I can't remember what. off the top of my head. But it was a nice thing to catch during the London Film Festival for free. And it's something that you can just have on sort of in the background. Honorable mention as well, though, in terms of music documentaries, to the Bee Gees documentary, How Can You Lend a Broken Heart? That does a very good... Because I thought... There's been so many documentaries over here about, like, the Bee Gees stuff and the Saturday Night Fever stuff. So it's like... It's going to be the same stuff, isn't it? Not really. It's taking it sort of from a different angle and being much more personal. Spoilers, expect Peter Jackson's Get Back to be on here in 10 months' time.
All right. Brian said, watch black and white version of Parasite. I said in a previous podcast that it was overrated, but didn't enjoy Memories of Murder. And does ask, which Disney film will win next year? Ryan the Last Dragon, Luca, or Encanto?
I'm not sure what the other two even are.
Encanto is Lin-Manuel Miranda's Pixar film. Well, actually, no. It might be Walt Disney, so it might be the Wreck-It Ralph sort of film. Luca is Pixar. Luca is the Merkid.
We'll see about that in a couple months, actually, it sounds like. And let's start this season the way that it should have ended in the season, the way it should have ended in the first place. My number 5 is Mank. My number 4 is Judas and the Black Messiah. My number 3 is Trial of the Chicago 7. My number 2 is Sound of Metal. And the best picture of 2020 is Promising Young Woman. That's our season, ladies and gentlemen. And provided everything rolls the way it should in life, we should get started again in 4 more months. Probably around the same time, actually. For the 2021 Oscar season.
Yeah, I'm trying to see when is the last. Okay, 27th of August is the last Friday in the month. Depends when you want to do it, of course, whether it's Saturday or.
Well, with any luck, I will have some important stuff to attend at that time, so I'm going to be working around that schedule again. So, needless to say, it gets the months for September and October again. So we'll talk about that later on. That's going to be your show, everyone. I want to thank everyone for joining us this whole season, this weird award season we just finished here. Everything that's joining us from when I watched the Best Picture nominees that I was not able to watch before, which basically me waxing poetic about Green Book for the longest time, all the way to tonight where we talked about our proper top 8 lineup for this award season. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Brian says, my last comment before we end, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story for Best Picture. We shall see.
And I guess I should probably also acknowledge that my videos have been late, very late lately. But it's basically like I was saying, where it's like this is the last video of this like season, and it's like these are temporary, whereas reviews and verses are forever.
Right.
So I was like putting basically everything as I possibly could into the end of this season, and then we'll pick back up with all the other stuff and hopefully find a regular flow. Obviously, there's going to be 4 videos you're getting in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Right. And I hope Ashley will be patting the lope as well with more snack stashes and gaming content where
there'll be some snack stuff. I need to get on the gaming stuff because the DICE Awards also done out, so we can do a proper analysis of all the game of the years now that that's sort of again wrapped up sort of the season. So also we need to give a special bow of thanks to the lizard. This year's donkey. We'll put him in as well.
Shout out to all the memes we've created this season as well too, especially the lizard. Exactly. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight, whether you watch for 5 minutes or 5 hours or somewhere in between or even more so. We really appreciate you continuing to check along with the Popcast Network here for our award season coverage every single year. For those of you that are picking us up this year, thank you. We hope you join us back next season in the next couple months. If not, then we're glad that we had you around for a little bit, and hopefully you got to find out a little bit more about the award season because of our videos, and continue to check out the movie reviews, the verses, the snack stashes. I've got Voices of Liberty content coming back to this network. The only reason why is because of the award season. I haven't been able to get to Epcot to be able to film anything. So that comes back this weekend. So we've got a lot more of that content's coming back, and concerts will eventually be happening again. And when that happens, those videos will come back to this network. So yeah, there's a lot of musical stuff coming back to the channel very soon. Wrestling one day will make its return. I don't know when, but someday I'll get a wild hair up and decide to do that. But in the meantime, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thanks, everyone, live chat. Thank you, everyone that has been leaving comments throughout the season. For those of you that have been watching along and continuing to watch along, we thank you again for your patronage. May 1st, our anniversary of being a network. We've been a network since 2012. It's random to think about that. Popcast Network has been a thing since May 1st, 2013, which is crazy to think about as well. So yeah, we're almost at 10 years at this network. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for joining. As always, stream Numb, stream Snow Globe, and check out Greatest Hits coming in on May 20th for water parks. And check along with Dan Housen and all the awesome things we talk about on this network. And in the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until next year, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.
Look around you. Lizard, donkey. Never forget the donkey. Can I find the end stream button? Maybe.
No swearing.